All right, everyone, we are live. Feels good to be back on the channel, and tonight I am not alone. I am joined by comic book artist and friend of mine, Mike S. Miller. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
I'm also joined by our good friend Critius.
What's going on, everybody?
With us is also Elliot, and he's sketching up something right now, so we'll make sure to keep looking at his screen while he goes through the drawing.
Woohoo! Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
We're also joined by Gary. Gary, what do you like to be called? Just Gary? Is that fine?
Gary is just fine. Thank you for having me.
Well, everyone's welcome here on World Class Bullshitters.
My man.
We have our buddy, that umbrella guy. How you doing, man?
Hey there, doing pretty good, thanks.
And finally, the man that put this all together, our good friend, Sketch Therapy.
Yeah. How you guys doing? I hope everyone is well out there.
So it's Monday. We haven't done a Monday night stream. I don't know if we've ever done a Monday night stream, but it's different. So, folks, the perk of being a patron is you guys can request video topics, and our friend Sketch Therapy goes above and beyond. He creates these hangouts himself. He gets guests. He comes up with topics. He's just really, really invested in the World Class Bullshitters community. And, you know, this isn't the first time he's done it. What is this, our third one?
Yes.
And they've all been great. So I'm excited for tonight. So, Sketch Therapy, you planned this thing, man. Take it away.
All right, guys, I just want you to know that, we have a lot of options out there. Sometimes we get a little bit down in the dumps. We see, craziness happening all over the world of entertainment. And I want to just show you guys that there are options out there. We came last time with you with another one of these comic book shows. We came at you with a fan film show, right, to show you the power of the people to support the things that they like, not necessarily these, big corporate endeavors, to show you that you have some power in all this. And I want to show you the power that you have in backing some of these projects. Now, some of these projects are the upcoming Packing's Land by Gary Shipman, the now live Detective Dead by our friend here, Critius, Mike Miller's Lone Stars. At Lone Star, and you can also support honest reviewers like World Class Bullshitters, his Indiegogo project, Stealing Solo. We also have here that umbrella guy. He takes a look at what's going on in the world of comic books and entertainment in general, and a little bit of a deep dive into the financials of it, which is always fun, And that's what we're all about here. We're here to talk about these projects, to talk to the audience, have them ask their questions, just interact with all of you, and show you that you too may have this creative bug in you, or this want to not just divest from these big corporations, but invest in people and projects that you believe in.
Well said.
Right. And follow our channels.
And follow the channels. You're going to have Elliot Fernandez doing a sketch over here. We're probably also going to feature some art from Gary Shipman. These are veteran artists of the field. Mike Miller is going to, yes, you're seeing him on the screen. He's been with us before.
I would usually be doing some drawing or I do that a lot on my channel, but I have taxes to do.
Taxes, yes.
Taxes. Part of the curse of being an independent contractor.
That is part of it. And we were talking a little bit about taxes, and we were talking about companies like IDW, which do comics. We were talking a little bit about Disney and how they are affected by taxes and affected by their own decisions. And we were talking about that with that umbrella guy. He was talking a little bit about IDW. This is a large, we would say one of the big four, right?
Yeah, it is. They run about 4 to 5% of the market, which is a huge market share. They are the fourth largest comic publisher.
Okay, and they have not been doing well since they've gone broke, have they? Since they've gone woke.
Not even. Their numbers, their Q3 numbers just came out. And if you want to look at a company and see how they're doing, all of the companies out there, I know we talk about, everything in these communities from movies like Star Wars to comic books and on. And a lot of these companies hide the numbers. They're harder to find. But IDW, since they're smaller, you can look at the numbers that they present and you can see exactly where they are. And their numbers. Their third quarter came out today. Now, this company, these are not my numbers. And when I say this too, and I name these, I'm not talking about a revenue decline. I'm not talking like they had money and they see less of it. I'm talking about like a hole in your pocket and money falls through it. So if you had this kind of money in your pocket, I envy you. But for 2018 so far, they are at negative $7.174 million. So, yeah, and they're only worth $50 million. The company is only worth $50 million. So,
and you said one of them made a personal loan to IDW. Is that right?
yeah. Now, in addition to that, okay, so in quarter 2 this year, they basically increased their debt by 40%. They went up to $8 million. Now, in quarter 3, they've increased their debt to $21 million. In addition to that, apparently they cannot get a lot of normal channel loans. They're taking loans from people that are pretty much in charge there. One of them loaned them $5 million, which says to me that they may be having problems securing traditional loans.
Interesting stuff. Now, another thing that we were talking about is how these companies have pretty much become IP farms. And, we touch on this subject because now, Jeff is going to be the owner of basically his story, like Ready Player One takes from other property. Well, he will have his story that's taken from other properties. Mike Miller is the owner of his intellectual property. Critias also, Gary Shipman. And Elliot has some projects in the works underway, right? You have some stuff that you're cooking up. Let's see what these people do with their IPs. Now, they had some valuable IPs. What have they done with what they have? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. Mike?
What's interesting about IDW is they started, the guys at IDW is Chris Abrisco, Ted Adams, Alex Garner, and the other Chris, I can't remember his name. But they started off, I used to work for them before IDW was a thing, back when they were the creative services guys over at Wildstorm. And, when DC came in and bought Wildstorm, they were like, well, we already have a creative services department. So they fired them, but they already had all of these connections in the space. And so they took their office from Wildstorm, moved over to Pacific Beach, and got a little office and started IDW, just doing the same stuff. Card games. That's primarily what they did. But it was called Idea and Design Works, and they would take on any kind of artwork. That's why Alex Garner was there. He moved from being just an inker to helping to do all the artwork and find new customers for creative, whatever people needed. It was the creation of their first comic, 30 Days of Night, that launched them into comicdom and practically instantly into having an IP made into a movie, right? So, when they got the taste of that, then they started moving more and more into comics. I don't think they had success with a lot of the other stuff, but that's when they started, going after things like Transformers and G.I. Joe, and that you find that's where the money is if you can do them right and you can service your fans correctly. And it's when they stopped serving their fans correctly that I think they started finding all of this trouble.
So now
I don't mean to laugh at them, because all those original guys that I knew and who were friends with, they're gone.
But they're gone, right?
Yeah,
the original guys are gone.
Yeah, Ted Adams was the last one there, and he left a month or two ago.
So
yeah,
took him away.
He was also replaced. You can see that comics are such a black hole for this right now, that he was replaced by a guy with a TV background. And when he was introduced, he was talking about intellectual property farming. He was saying, oh, we're going to get more TV shows, we're going to do this, and he didn't talk about comic books. That It's the same thing we've seen from other companies out there too. You know, as they replace leadership, they're talking about going the same way that a Disney, you know, does, or you know, with Marvel or with DC. I mean, they're moving into that. We see bad practice in comic books. We actually see that roll downhill. You know, it's what's taking out these other companies. Like if Marvel does badly, you know, if you don't want to go to the comic shop for say Amazing Spider-Man, then why would you buy, you know, those impulse buys from the third or fourth rated company? I mean, you don't get into that.
That's exactly where I am as a comic book consumer. I've been turned off by the big ones, so the little ones suffer. So I don't buy anything right now.
Yeah. Like Bitcoin and the altcoins. I don't know.
Well, it shows. I mean, it shows when you go in and you look at these numbers. I mean, they like when we're talking about IDW, they actually break their company into 3 statements. So one statement, it's really telling, because one statement deals with comic books and board games, and board games is doing well. I mean, they make quite a bit. You know, they make like close to $500,000 in that same area increase for board games. But as far as comics, even with all of that added in and making more money on board games, just the comic portion over the 9-month standard is at negative $2.532 million. So that's just the comic portion. And what, you know, when you go down through there, you have all these pros out there that don't understand the true impact of this. And the true impact of it is that you start looking through it. They have a thing called direct cost of revenues, you know, and that's how much printing expenses cost plus artists and writers. Well, that decreased by $886,000. So that means that, you know, artists are not going to get paid. I mean, if you're not making as many comics, if you're decreasing, trying to cut costs, you're going to cut costs on people there. And then salaries are also down. I mean, so they're cutting salaries and benefits. They've cut $76,000 off of salaries and benefits, which, you know, some of that theoretically is probably padded out by bringing in new people to, you know, when they bring in, say, like a new president, they're going to give them more salary. So that's going to pad that number up. The lower rung, you know, the actual artists that are creating, writers, editors, and on, those people are taking hits.
So what is left there then? What's holding those guys together so far at all? Just the
they
games?
also well, they have the intellectual properties for things like Winona Earth. That's been making them a little money, but they're still losing money on it. Anytime that's not there, they get, you know, even with that, they're losing money. They have Sonic, which it sells okay. Tellingly, it sells only about 13 to 15,000 units. I mean, we're not talking huge numbers, but right now that outsells some Marvel titles. So I mean, I think that's pretty.
You know, the Flash, last I checked, only sold like 16,000.
Well, if Sonic is having success, I guess someone out there is saying, looks like Sonic needs to get woke.
Yeah, actually, Sonic they've had some of their people come out and pretty much, you know, try to go at quote unquote Comicsgate, which, you know, anybody gets looped into. If you have a problem with the industry now, you know, that is pretty much what they call you. You know, like for myself, I was talking about stock numbers. Oh no, I spread conspiracy. That's what I get told by bro. Yeah. Telling you these things.
For speaking of public numbers, you're called a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, conspiracy theorist. I had Gail Simone tell me that I was a conspiracy theorist. I thought,
it's the stock report in the grassy knoll or something.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not gawking at, you know, they always like to say like Comicron. Well, those are estimated numbers. You know, those don't really tell you anything. Okay, well, these aren't estimated numbers. These are prepared statements.
This also affects toys, and I believe you had some interaction with them through Hasbro and this kind of thing, where you know, Jeff has also touched on this of how you know, getting woke in your IP affects your sales in other divisions like the toy division and the people that are, you know, actually kind of directly tied economically to the what you're selling. What was your experience with that?
Well, Hasbro, I mean, they were okay. There was an incident in 2017 where a writer for a G.I. Joe, you know, one of their mainstay commodities and also leased from Hasbro, decided that he would say that, you know, anybody that wasn't in in New York on 9/11. They were essentially posers when they talk about it, and he continued to double down. You know, Hasbro was pissed off about that. I mean, they were very, very angry, and when they said to do something about that, IDW, in fact, they didn't. They doubled down, and you know, that cost them sales. Now we've also had GI Joe, right? The GI Joe writer that's been there forever. I mean, he's Larry Hama. He decided to come out and make statements too. Meanwhile, if you look at how many units of that are shipped, not sold, but shipped units, you were talking about 6,000 GI Joe comics. That's it, you know, and those numbers sold, they're somewhere between 40 and 60% typically. So you're only moving about, you know, on a really good day, you're moving 6 out of 10 of those. So it's not good. It's not good at all. That reflects on Hasbro, I'm sure.
I posted that a picture because I went to the store last week and I saw this Larry Hama sketch. I didn't even know who did it. It was just this horrible drawing. I'm like, what is this? And I posted it, and people are like, that's Larry Hama. That's Larry Hama. I'm like, I don't care who it is. It's terrible. And then somebody posted like all of the different covers. There's like 7 different covers. So that's 6,000 copies. That's not 6,000 fans, and 40% of those selling through. That's not, you know, 40 times 6. That's not 2,400 fans buying them. It's a number of collectors buying multiple copies of each. So it's just it's like diminishing and diminishing your fan
They
base.
also tend to increase the cover price, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now we're hitting on the 15-minute mark, and what I'd like to do right now is talk about the good people that are in control of their intellectual property. Among them is an upcoming project by Critias called Detective Dead. There is Mike Miller's Lone Star. There is Gary Shipman's Packin's Land, which he's working on right now. And also, I would just like to highlight, Gary Shipman has 18 issues under his creative control. He is, I believe, within Comicscape, the one that has most finished work with him. Oh, here we have a poster of Lone Star being shown by Mr. Mike Miller. And we also have Elliot Fernandez.
This is something I just had. My printer just was testing printing on like more metallic paper. So this one came out like, this got a cool sheen on it.
It looks nice. I like it. I like it very much.
That's great, man.
And what I was also touching on was not only the quality of the art, but also the quality of the content, the quality of the storytelling. Now, when you get into a Packin's Land, you're going to get into a tale that, you know, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be appropriate for almost all ages. Am I right in this? Am I right in this, Mr. Gary Shipman?
Yeah, it's family friendly, but that doesn't mean that it is always safe. You know what I'm saying? No,
yeah,
I mean,
like Star Wars in essence, it was pretty much for all ages, but, you know, pretty much attractive for all ages. I mean, you know, older people liked it, younger people liked it.
right.
It had different messages during different stages in your, you know, development as a human. As a kid, it hits you different than as an adult. It's a very, you know, it's very, how can I say, it's very impactful. It stays with you. It has, you know, it tells a great story. Now, do you have those 3 volumes there? So you can show them off?
I can show you something here.
Now, if you check out Gary's YouTube, what you're going to find is, you know, this is a person that pretty much stays out of all the drama. This is a person that sits down and does his art thing. So you guys can learn a lot about the traditional art. You guys can also see, let me see. You can also see a little bit of the interaction he has with fans. He kind of shows the fans what he's doing. He talks to them. It's all very nice, very cool. What you're going to find with us is that different people have different rules, right? On World Class Bullshitter, is the house rules is, you know, you can say whatever you want, but don't get into politics too much. On the Mike Miller show, Aloha Hour, you can get into politics, but you can't cuss, right? With that Umbrella guy, well, he's more geared to, you know, discussing the content and the finances, right? Elliot also sticks to pretty much he'll touch on all topics, but he goes with a more showing the people the art, right? Here we're seeing Gary Shipman. This is Packin's Land. These are 3 volumes. Within each volume, there's 6 issues, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh, actually, I guess I misunderstood you. This is the first 3 issues that I've put out as a digital download.
Okay. Okay.
The other volumes that I did, those are kind of have been put on the back burner because we're going to try and do an omnibus, which will be like about over 400 pages of story and art. And that'll be something that we're going to run in the future as an Indiegogo campaign. And right now we're trying to do a sketchbook just to kind of get my feet wet with Indiegogo. I can show you the cover for the sketchbook as well, if you'd like to see that.
That's great. That's great.
Well, anyways,
Yeah.
Because all this stuff is sort of new to me, I'm learning a ton of stuff, just as we go. Doing live streams, and I'm doing drawings on a live stream. And so what I wanted to do now is offer my 3rd sketchbook, which is the 2018 sketchbook. And I was going to run an Indiegogo campaign for that. And I've been getting just a ton of feedback from people on my stream about how to do it and what I should offer as the perks and what I should offer as the stretch goals. It's just some great ideas. And I've been really thankful to have everybody take such an interest that way.
Well,
Should
what you're
have made the
seeing,
Wonder Woman bigger.
yeah, that Wonder Woman was magnificent. I must say that was some beautiful art.
That Wonder
also,
Woman got you half your subs, Gary.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Gary,
it'll be big in the book, in the inside.
Gary also has a Patreon, much like the Patreon here for World Class Bullshitters. And I just want to remind the audience that if you like this content, you can actually pitch in. You can throw $1 goes a long way. $5 is only 17 cents a day, so you can help out Mike Miller. You can help out Gary Shipman. You can help out World Class Bullshitters, and you can help them out that way. That Umbrella guy also has a Patreon. This guy is an honest reviewer, pretty much like Jeff is. He goes into a little bit of the numbers of it, just like Jeff goes into a little bit of the kind of that tangential ties with toys and all these things. And it's just good for you guys that are not going to take those $50 or $100 that it takes to take your family out to see these movies. You can invest it in something you believe in. And I also want to talk now to some upcoming projects. We have Critias here. He's with us. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his project. Critias, please tell us about Detective Dead.
Sure. If you hear any noise, I'm sorry about that. That's my kids over there fighting. Detective Dead is about a 1932 detective that goes to a raid to bust these 2 rival factions that are about to become one. So during the raid, is one of the head criminals escapes and winds up at his house. So after the raid, the cop goes home and he finds his family dead. And while he's holding them in his arms, he hears like music playing from a piano from the next room over. And when he goes check it out, the guy is still in his house. And they get into a quick shootout, but they don't want to die. They both end up outside under this strange astronomical event, and they die under it. And just with the eyes glazing over the brightness and the colors of the moon. And then the hero wakes up in modern day time and finds out that he has special abilities. Not only him, but everybody who he killed during the raid, especially the men that murdered his family, are all running around in modern day time, and he has to stop them.
Now you have some of the art here. You also have a shot, I believe, of kind of like this pivotal event, if I'm not mistaken. If
Correct.
you could throw that on the screen for us, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. Let me put it up if you don't mind.
Okay, so this is the kind of content you can expect. It's pretty much original content, and it's a little bit of a Twilight Zone meets what's the name of this movie? The Equalizer. I'm kind of like it's a little bit of that, and I think it's a good story. It's got some good art. And there you see some of this art, right? So you see here, this man comes home to this, and this is what sparks the rest of the story. This is where everything else flows from. This is his impetus, right? This is why what moves him, returning to what he's lost. And I think it's a great story. We also have Lone Star. Lone Star is still available, if I'm not mistaken, right? The
Yeah,
store is
yeah.
still open.
LoneStarComic.com. You want to share it on your screen, or can you?
Go ahead if you want to share anything you want to share. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm working on the potato, so.
Well, MacBooks.
Yeah, I am actually getting tomorrow morning. They're going to come out and install higher speed with the faster modem and everything. So hopefully that will.
I bust Mike's chops a little bit about the computer. Apple
a little
guys,
bit.
and PC guys, and Apple guys. It's a friendly rivalry,
All right, let's see here. Yeah, look how slow it is. Look how slow.
Yeah,
It's bad. But Lone Star, it's about he's an ex-soldier turned government super agent, fighting not only the things that go bump in the night like vampires and werewolves and goblins and ghouls and whatever, but he spends a lot of his off time just protecting the innocent. He's driven to be that hero. So and I have a Lone Star for the troops category, which is my favorite thing to have that anyone buys. In here, it'll say $5, or it'll say 5 copies for the troops, because I didn't know what the printing cost was going to be, but it's 26 copies. So you get 2 copies for yourself. Actually, 3. You get 1 of each cover. There's 3 covers, and then 26 copies go to the troops. So right now, I'm over 2,000 copies that I will be sending to the USO. Yeah, here's some of the art. Well, that's for that. Here's some of the art.
That's really cool, Mike.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to go through this quick because I'm sure people don't want to just... Here, it's a mirror.
He took that idea from me earlier.
They did. Oh, you're at war with Mike too? Oh.
A quick question about this for the troops thing. Now, this is in essence also a mutually beneficial thing, right? When you take out these tiers for people that want to help the troops out, that want to give them a little bit of a reprieve from the things that they face, you also get like a little bit of a deal on the printing itself, right?
Well, yeah, because the more I print, the lower the cost per unit. So the more I print, the more I can send to the troops, because the price per unit goes down.
Interesting.
So that additional 2,000 copies will probably bring my print cost per issue down like 10 or 20 cents.
Okay, so if you guys, I know we're having kind of this on-air talk, but in the behind the channels, when you're doing the private business talk, right? Because you're each a company, kind of becoming a conglomerate. That you can have this information. You could probably share with Jeff and Critias how this whole for the troops thing works, and maybe you guys can have those. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just brainstorming. But if it's something that helps the troops and it helps your print run, I believe you guys should talk about that. And on that note, I'd like to talk about Stealing Solo. Now, Stealing Solo is a more comedic take on comics book, right? Comic book usually, they used to have a little bit of the comedy in them. It used to come more or less from the comic strip in the newspaper, and then it turned into the superhero thing. Now, Jeff has taken it back to that a little bit. He's, a little bit into the comedy aspects of it, the adventure comedy that we have here. And I would just like to, in addition to plugging Stealing Solo, just highlighting that part of it, right? If you're a little bit, let's put it mildly and say miffed at what's been going on with Lucasfilms, and you want to take that money that you were going to spend on the movie theater and say, you know what, I'm going to skip it. You can help this cause, help this channel, and help this man who has been giving you honest reviews about the goings on in Lucasfilm by by buying Stealing Solo on Indiegogo. And you're gonna have yourself a comedy here, a little bit of a something that you can look and you can kind of figure like, what, I would have wanted to do that too, we take this as a catharsis, right? Because we're not violent people. We're not going to go kidnap anybody. But it could be a great story, and you guys can back that, and you guys can get behind that on Indiegogo. I don't know if do we have any wrenches in the audience? I haven't seen anybody in blue, but it would be great if we could drop the links to some of these Patreons, to some of these campaigns and all this. And we can keep on talking about Lucasfilm and all this. Jeff, this is your channel. If you want to do a short little plug for Stealing Solo, you go ahead on and do that. I've been doing my best at it, but you could probably do it better than me.
You're the best pitchman in Comicsgate, dude. Don't worry. You're doing a great job.
Okay.
I mean, this is, I have this channel. It's got tons and tons of subscribers, so I get to talk about it a lot, but I don't get to talk about it more on a one-on-one basis because, you got to put out a video. It's got to basically reach its message in a couple seconds, and then you move on to the content of the video. But yeah, you were talking about me taking it back to adventure comedy type of thing with Stealing Solo, and that's what it is. It's about the 4 guys from this channel that do kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in the basement. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me to draw. It's been a lot of fun to write. And I find myself laughing at some of the situations that people get in, even though I did, kind of write them myself. So, but it's a good time. A lot of people think, what do you know about comics? Well, I've been doing it behind the scenes for years. I've been a paid artist for a while. And for a while, I mean, about 4 years now. So I've had stuff that I got paid for that never came out due to like financial reasons. I know a lot of artists have been there. The writer's like, hey, I'm going to pay you this amount, and then he never has the money to get it printed, which isn't a big deal. I mean, I got what I was supposed to get on my end, but it never saw the light of day. So this is not my first comic book. It's the first one that anyone will see because I can't really share the other art because I don't own it. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I've been posting updates on Twitter with new art. I've been posting updates on Indiegogo right now. I'll show you. I updated the stretch goals, so we're past our goal. It's not like it's hopefully we hit this goal type of thing. It's we've passed it. Let's see how much we can do.
That's great.
Outdo Squirrel Girl or America Chavez or one of those really crappy Marvel books. That's my goal right now, is to beat one of those. Because if we can do that, then that shows them even further. Like, hey, what we're doing is wrong. What we're doing is dumb. So, check out the Indiegogo right now. I got a stretch goal for a joke. We have the early bird certificate, which is going to be mailed out to everybody around Christmas. If you know Star Wars, you know what the early bird certificate was. It was back in the day when you bought the action figures, they weren't available in stores for Christmas of 1977. Well, Stealing Solo won't be out for Christmas of 2018. It'll be out in February, so it doesn't interfere with the channel. But you guys get an early bird certificate. It's a kind of a fun throwback. And then the higher we go up, we got an ash can edition of one of my first comics called Anthology. It's a throwback to the old EC kind of comics where you have like one's horror, one's sci-fi, one's kind of political. And then, if it goes up even further, you're going to get the special edition of that where I'm going to pay somebody to recolor it, reletter it, get it printed just like Stealing Solo. So you're basically getting 2 books for the price of one. And we're getting close to those things. So I'm excited. I'm trying to pull up the new image I sent to the colors, but for some reason it won't let me. So you guys talk for a minute and I'll see if I can find that.
I think that's wonderful. I think I know you have your channel and you have your audience, but I would suggest that you go on that umbrella guy. You maybe visit the Aloha Hour and spend sit a spell with Mike and his crowd, because this is kind of like a crossover crowd. But there may be some people that are more of a high council crowd, and they're not aware of the daily stuff, and we can get them to subscribe over here for the morning show after they see Aloha Hour, and we can get that word out there about getting that ash can, getting that Stealing Solo, getting that comedy book, of which I believe this is the comedy book, right? There are no other comedy books in Comicsgate as far as I know, and I just wanted to highlight that. And I'm maybe speaking for other people, but I can't foresee that anyone would be against having you as a guest, and I would just like to recommend that you doing the rounds. And you know what, me, I've always said it, I'm about crossing the streams of gaming, movies, and comics against these giant SJW marshmallows, right? That like Ghostbusters did. They're just big giant marshmallows. You got to cross the streams and wipe them out. And you do that with good content, good fan interaction, good customer service, and that's what we're all about. So I may be speaking out of turn, but I'm sure that these guys would love to have you.
Well, if they, I'll go wherever I'm welcomed. I don't want to invite myself onto someone else's channel, so yeah, I'll go wherever.
I'll invite you to someone else's channel. That way, it's only awkward for me.
Perfect. Then I'll show up, man. I like it.
Jeff, you can come on the Aloha Hour anytime, man.
You just let me know when you guys are doing it, so I can make sure I don't interfere with our show, and then we'll be good to go.
That Umbrella guy has a great show. Elliot is also starting his show. You can see him. He's inking some of his work. He also has a project that's called Black and Red. He has a little bit of a sketchbook, like a portfolio of his, his works. He does a lot of commission work. It's beautiful work. And, this is just to give the fans something to look at, something beautiful, something to show off. What he's doing right here. This is a commission, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, this is a commission. This is actually in line with what I've been calling my Black and Red series. The Black and Red series was basically a segment of my commission work that I had developed to kind of try something a little different with my normal commission type comic style work.
Is that Mr. Hyde?
Say again?
Is that Mr. Hyde?
No, it's supposed to be Red Hulk, General Ross Red Hulk.
Oh,
so
okay. Because you were saying it was part of your work.
So I was going to say I do my commissions like this, my normal typical commissions when people do requests. So I do draw various characters that people request from me, whether they be mainstream or anything else. But I have been producing a series recently with like movie monster characters. I've become quite a fan of.
Could you show that off for us? I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you show that off for us? Because this is a horror crowd. I would be particularly interested in seeing that Mike Myers. I know you have a big fan here in Jeff of that kind of work, and he
give me 1 second. Let me grab it.
Love to see that.
Well, while he's pulling that up, let me read some super chats real quick. Dayton Pfeiffer sent in $5, so thank you very much. And then Obi-Wan 27883 sent one with a message. It says, "Comics Fence, because we're way past the line in the sand. Hold your ground, defend the wall, toss me. Don't tell the elf."
So here's some of that stuff here if you want to see it.
Ooh, Michael Myers. I'm really pumped for that new movie.
Oh yeah, so am I. He was my favorite slasher guy. I don't really care for many of the other slasher movies, but this one in particular was always something that affected me when I was a kid.
Same here, because it seemed realistic. I mean, Freddy Krueger can't come into your dreams because that shit doesn't exist. But
but even though he wasn't realistic either, right? He would just march around and get shot. And
for the longest time, I only saw the first one as a kid where he got away, and I'm like, oh no. And then I saw the other ones, and I'm like, oh okay.
Well, for a long time, I didn't even care too much about horror. But then just over the last, about 5 to 10 years, I started to get interested in H.P. Lovecraft's work and started to kind of go further out into that. I'm still a fan of cosmic horror first. But here's an image. So like I said, I'm doing these as like homages to the famous movie monsters and slasher films. But my favorites are actually these guys here, the classic
Carpenter.
monsters.
Carpenter is bringing back Halloween. He's coming back. He's throwing out everything, but really the first. I don't know. I don't know how that'll be, but it might be. You never know. It might be really good.
Well, it was in the first Friday the 13th. It was the mother doing all the killing.
Yep.
So that was.
By the way, Elliot,
get all weird and impossible until Jason came back.
Yeah, like what was it, number 2 was when he was the killer, but then it was like number 4 where he came back from the dead for the first time. I've seen way too many of those movies.
Well, at
number
the end of
like
one,
the zombie, the super stalker. You get the pole in there and lightning, and he's like, "Oh, he came back." Yeah.
But didn't he like come back from the dead in the lake?
Oh, at the end of the first one, that's meant to be like a dream type of thing.
Oh, is it? Oh,
because if you watch there's a documentary called was it Camp Crystal Lake Memories? The guy's like, he read the script for number 2. He's like, there is no Jason. Jason's a dream. Blah blah blah. So that's why there's like that weird floating timeline where he would be a little kid in the first one, and then he was like 30 years old in part 2. But it was only like a couple of months after the first one. I don't know. I know way too much about horror for my own good.
It kind of explains Jason Go to Manhattan, because at the end, right, he turns into a baby or something like that.
Yeah, he gets melted by the nuclear waste or whatever. That's a terrible movie. By the way, you should work horror conventions, dude. You can make some serious money taking prints of that stuff.
Well, I am actually. We my business partner and I we're setting up. You know, some of my backstory in terms of like getting involved in comics and all. I kind of bailed on comics, but I started to really. I've been doing conventions for about 5-6 years now, maybe even 7 years. And this is the first year that we decided that I wasn't getting a lot of business. Has been shifting in the comic book convention scene a lot.
Dude,
so
this whole past year has sucked.
yeah, it's been very difficult. So I've actually shifted more into producing merchandise. So that's kind of what this is about. And so is my Black and Red book about the same thing, just creating different types of product that I think other people will appeal to different kinds of customers and at a different kind of price points than are typical. So this particular stuff, we do little things. My partner has some equipment that he's able to produce things like magnets and stickers and things like that. So that's kind of what we're primarily focusing on until we've evolved into bigger things. So this year is the first year I'm doing other shows other than comic shows. And there's a show here in the Florida area called Spooky Empire.
Oh, my friend's going to that.
Yeah. We have a table for that. I think might be a booth there, but so we're excited about that. We're going to be producing a lot of product for that. And
one thing you'll learn about these horror shows is there's a lot of people that sell art, but there's not a lot of people that sell really good art. So you're probably going to clean up, because I used to do that and make good money too. So trust me, you'll.
That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear.
If you're ever in the Midwest, go to Horror Hound. They get all these big celebrities. They just did their first show in a big hotel. I was there for the channel. Dude, there were thousands of people there. It was like comic book convention size. So I mean, if you ever do make the trip to like Indianapolis or Cincinnati, work those shows.
That sounds great, actually. Like I said, it's something I've been interested in for a while, and the subject matter lends itself to some more interesting imagery. So even the concepts that I'm playing with creating have some horror aspects, although I do have my stories. They center around philosophical ideas of nobility and goodness and righteousness. So that's kind of I kind of like to mix that kind of stuff up a little bit. So yeah, I mean it's been great. That we launched our Black and Red campaign on Indiegogo, and it went over fantastic. People have been super supportive. So Gary, you got the right idea about doing the sketchbook. People do love art, and that's what I found here in this community, is that it's not just, hey, did you publish? Have you done Batman? No, I haven't. Oh well, you're not good enough for me. So all right.
But you did have experience in DC though, right? You did.
I did
publish some books for them.
But that doesn't mean anything, because it's the community can tend to be difficult about that as well. The collecting community. So it's nice to be able to get around people who just like fun artwork.
Yeah,
I like that.
Today about seeing if I could put together like a book of all of my Game of Thrones covers, because I've done like 40 something of them so far.
You're a little bit of a connoisseur when it comes to Game of Thrones, right?
Well, I do the covers for the comic books.
But you also read the material.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that series. I wanted to also touch on this, that we have these tales that I know Elliot has a tale in the works, and Mike Miller's and Critius's work is also, and Gary, they have works that are based on these dealings with morals and this character development and all that, and that's what's missing from some of these properties. Now, before the show, we were talking about how that affects the industry itself. I was talking to that umbrella guy about how slippery a slope is it for Disney to commit too many fails? What happens if Plan 9, I remember Solo, they said, well, maybe it'll make $1 billion. And what you had was pictures of empty theaters. And if that happens to Plan 9, and if because of all these messages about Carl Manverse, if it happens also to the MCU, could that cause a run on Disney? Could there be like if everybody what could this mean? More about the industry on the number side. Maybe you can illuminate me a little in this.
Well, real quick before we answer, we had 2 people send in super chats. One's for Elliot, actually, from our friend Tim Riggs. He says, Elliot, how does one request a commission, and have you ever tried your hand at anything from Warhammer 40K? I think you'd do an amazing Conrad Cruz or Kurz.
I have not officially done that, although I've done a lot of concept designs work that has resembled that. If you are interested in getting some sort of commission work from me, or you can direct message me either on Twitter or here on YouTube, in fact, or on my Instagram account, which is where I spend most of my time and effort.
Let's see. And then we have a big one from Salvador. Thank you very much, Salvador. I backed every single Comicsgate comic on Indiegogo that has appeared on High Council, Comicsgate Live, etc. so far. Most at the $50 to $100 tier for a grand total of $1,525.
Wow.
My wallet isn't happy, but the cause is just and good.
Well, I'm only 7 pages away from finishing mine, Butter, so you don't have that long to wait for me.
Salvador, thanks for backing everybody, me included, Mike, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Indeed, indeed.
It is exciting too. I mean, we've all experienced this too. But like you're working on something and you're hoping it'll work or people will want to read it. And now with this, we have a built-in audience that's ready to pick up the book. So somebody's going to read it. You know exactly how many people. And for somebody like me who's never had my stuff picked up by the mainstream, it's exciting to know that so many people are going to read the story.
Yeah.
I think you got one more super chat in there. Check it out.
Yep, from Klaus Stork. Klaus Stork is a longtime friend of the channel. Hey guys, when starting out, what were y'all's kryptonite? Like eyes not matching or weird looking feet? Let's do this in order. Mike, you've had the most experience, correct?
Yeah. Now feet. Okay. No. I'd probably have to say wonky faces. Like when you're drawing something, you can the chin can be like skewed, and you don't notice it the way you're drawing it. So you always have to like pick up the page and look at it in a mirror, or shine some light through it so you can see it backwards, and then you notice your jaw's like this. Same thing with eyeballs being out of the wrong place or whatnot. But that trying to get that symmetry, it's not always as easy for me as doing something like at a 3/4 view or whatever. So
what are you trying to say, Mike? What are you trying to say?
Yours looks fine. Yours looks fine.
I'm self-conscious.
Now, Critias would be like writing. What is the hardest thing to write? Is it comics? Is it novels? Is it script? What's your kryptonite? What's the toughest one to do?
For me, comics is actually the most toughest medium for me to write. I don't like it because it takes so much focus and attention, to have everything separated in a certain way and get the captions and the dialogue and the action, the sound effects and all that stuff is just, with script, you just write it out, and the movie, you hear it on the movie, but you got to basically, write out the sound effects for the pages,
Okay, so that's a little bit of a challenge to you. I get it. I understand. And Elliot.
And I tell you, my biggest challenge, and it's still my kryptonite, is fire hydrants. All inanimate objects, buildings and trucks and vehicles. I hate them. But you got to do what you got to do.
Okay. And Gary, what's a little bit on the tougher side to make for you?
I think that everything is a challenge. I think that comics, though, at least I find, are very forgiving because I know there's a lot of rules, but it's almost like those rules are there you can almost break them once you understand them. I don't see Mike's problem. I see his artwork and I see it looks really good. Actually, all the pieces I see here look good. But I think that the thing about comics is what I like because everything is kryptonite. And I even say on my live stream that people get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly when I'm drawing because I don't know. It's almost like I'm making a mistake and then the rest of the stream or the drawing is me trying to fix that mistake. So
I've heard Elliot say something like that we all just keep learning from our mistakes and making that into the work. You also make a lot of you use different mediums. You also do a little bit of watercolor work. I like your stuff. I like a lot of your work. You have a diverse palette of mediums that you use with your art. I really love it. And of course, I like your comics work.
Thank you very much.
Now, that umbrella guy, you pretty much have to review. And sometimes these things can be tough, so, you know, things you don't want to review. I know you like talking about numbers. That's pretty much your wheelhouse. What are the subjects that are hard to touch on?
Oh, well, I mean, being honest these days, a lot of reviewers are not honest. It's easy to be honest, but it's hard to review some horrible comics. You know, some comics are actually so cringy that they're fun to review, but some comics are just so bad. Like I went through West Coast Avengers #1, and it was painful. I mean, it was truly painful to read.
It's just bad, terrible art. Yeah, guys, you guys should just go ahead. You know, you don't have to grab onto DC. You don't have to grab onto Marvel. You grab onto Lone Star Stealing Solo. You grab onto Detective Dead, Black and Red. Gary Shipman's going to have his coming out soon. Just grab onto that, you know, and if you want some honest reviews, if you want some, you know, honest takes on the industry. Now, that umbrella guy also covers a little bit of industry news. And I imagine some of the toughest work you had to do there was dealing with this whole James Gunn situation and you know, what that implies and what they're joking about and the history of these people. And it just gets so dark sometimes. And I'm guessing it's a little disheartening.
There's worse. I mean, there's much worse people than a gun out there. You know, some of the I've always heard that you can measure, you know, the person, the man, or the message, you know, by the people that represent opposition. And if you look at the opposition to a lot of people that are talking about comics now, what they say, first of all, but also, I mean, if you held them to their own standards. So I was looking at this guy's work. I would just. You know, I don't want to tell people to go and check it out, but there's a guy that calls Ethan Van Sciver a Nazi all the time. Says because he did a sketchbook 10 years ago, you know, that he either is a Nazi or he's down with Nazi imagery, so that still makes him a Nazi. Now, I was looking up his work, and his whole punchline to one of his mainstay comic. It's a comic called Clarissa. It's basically about a child being abused abused in the James Gunn way, and that's the punchline to the thing. And that's his entirety of this whole strip that he's done. And thought, okay, well, if you hold the same people to that standard, then what does that say about them? And of course, you know, you're never going to hear that from them. Not only is this stuff that they discuss, they utilize there, you know, in the medium, just disturbing, but you know, beyond that too, like say, if you held them to the same standard, if you use this imagery, what does it entail? What does that mean? Well, you know, it goes well beyond that James Gunn stuff. But yeah, when you start exploring reprehensible people and you start looking into them, you truly find some not misled. There are misled people out there. There are people that are true ideologues. They believe in the cause. Some people that are scary, but then there are just you know, people out there that they go into another shade of that, and they're just horrible people. I think that's the worst thing. You know, you were talking about Marvel, or not Marvel, but Disney. You made a statement about viability. You were talking about them putting their eggs in so many baskets. A lot of people don't think about Disney as the overextended commodity that it is. You know, I know you all talk about Star Wars a lot and how that the last Star Wars failed. Okay, well, it only takes a few movies to truly knock them off their beat. In fact, the only thing that really helped Disney out this year is Donald Trump helped out Bob Iger, which is pretty interesting, you know, with tax cuts. Bob Iger is a very ardent anti-Trumper, but they made so much of their money. They made their success this year because of Donald Trump, not because of stuff that they're doing. They've overextended a lot of their resorts. So when you look at their revenue, sure, their revenue looks amazing, $12 to $18 billion. Wow. But then you get into expense and running that, and it's right there with a shoestring budget. They've overextended into Star Wars. You've seen exactly what that does. But they also have overextended into ESPN. You know, ESPN is a money loss for them. Hulu is a money loss for them. So last year, it was bad enough that they actually, you judge a company's success by their earnings per share. That's where they're answerable to their stockholders. And they took a loss on that last year. So it was a company that you expect to make billions. I mean, they're really just a couple of movies away from failure.
Now, I'd like Jeff to chime in on this because he has a little bit of the news of what's going on with Captain Marvel, and he also has a super chat that just came in. But he's pretty much in tune of what Disney is producing, so I'd like him to get into how the future looks. I mean, these movies could hit hard, and you hit them in the wallet where it hurts.
Well, this super chat, I'm gladly going to read it and tell you thanks. It probably won't stay around for long, but it says, it comes from Johnny Dollar. It's very generous. Thank you very much for the $25. Hey, Uncle Ethan. 1, about 15 years ago, I went to Barnes & Noble with Frank Cho and Patrick McDonald. Patrick was awesome. Frank was cocky and kind of an asshole. 2, I live in Columbus and follow your brother Noah. Thoughts?
Uncle E isn't here right now.
So I mean, he's talking about the whole Frank Cho thing. Frank Cho came out today in abject ignorance and told ComicGate, not even spelling it right, to F off. I could read it to you if you want.
What's funny too is the same people that are, like a Greg Rucka or a, Robbie Rodriguez, who decided, of course, to send that infamous picture to Ethan Van Sciver. Now, those people have attacked him before because, he draws sexy covers. And I mean, they've not just attacked what he did, but they tried to drive him, pretty much out of the industry, and that's it's very telling to see.
We have the same enemies. And the fact that he would, I don't know. I think he is on the left, and he's probably got a lot of friends who are farther on the left than he is, who are telling him what we are, which are all lies. Because he's everything he says outside of Comicsgate is like fully Comicsgate.
I see all those covers he makes. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
People always get outraged over the boobs and the fun nature of comic books, but
that's right.
I don't know. Poor Frank.
You should aspire to not just act like these heroes and have their power. You should aspire also to look like them. You want to be like, I want to be like that. And like that has become such a strange thing. We saw that with Carl Manvers, and you talked a little bit on the morning show about how these pictures they all have pretty much the same expression, right? It's RBF, I think is the term.
Oh yeah.
No, I think it's really telling when you look in the comments of like his saying. It's you see people saying "F Comicsgate," whatever that is. It's like yeah, exactly. That really
it's just
that really stands up and tells them.
I think it's all just straight up fear and jealousy, because we're able to produce comics in 2 months and do more than these people do in years because they, they're assholes and they get on these big books but they don't do anything. Like, what is it? Durasian Comics says he talks about how these people are working. They're basically paid like intern salary, which is next to nothing, and they get to do stuff at Marvel, but all they do is damage the brand, and then it hurts everyone else along the way.
I got thinking about this. So you have a company that they not only in Marvel, they not only have executive positions coming out to decry you, and I mean like multiple ones. Their CCO, have their head editor / whatever with Tom Brevoort. You even had their EIC come out and try to denounce a specific person, and all of what he says is pretty much a roundabout way to say, those people over there. But he does, they know the inner workings of Comicsgate down to like inner drama, like nothing, like really small things, not overall, but they keep up. Now I'm wondering to what level they would try to deride what we're saying. Like they've been producing reboots continually. These reboots, if you look at them and you look at the numbers from 1 to 2, usually we would expect a drop off of about 20 to 30%, maybe. These comic books are dropping off from number 1 to number 2 at around 60 to 70%. Wow. So that's on and that's on the shipments. Now you figure you can move comic shops. I've been going and surveying comic shops because I want to know how well these comics actually move. Alterna Press, they got me interested in that. And the number that I'm getting after about 50 comic shops so far is about 46% on average. So out of that number, so you have a 70% drop off. If you look at if you look at stuff that is not huge name, I mean, some of these comic books now are selling, at 30 or 20,000 units. 58 comics sell over 30,000. That's it. And I mean, that's terrible. When you get to 102 and this is all comic books, you are out of 20,000. After 102, you're removing less than 20,000 units. And then that's amazing when you think about that. That level, that used to be, you would never get into those numbers. Almost every comic now would be considered a failure if you went back 20 years, but somehow they're calling that viability. They raised the pricing point. I mean, if you look at it, they did away with the $2.99 buy-in. So now the baseline is $3.99, but every time they reboot, the reboot costs $4.99 to $6.99. And then when they have a milestone, the milestone goes from $6.99 to $9.99. So that's how they've promoted this facade of viability. Like, oh, we're doing better than 2017, which they've been calling the comic book recession. They're doing better than it by 1% so far. So if you include these numbers that are overshipment, because they do overship, and even Bleeding Cool. Bleeding Cool is definitely not a Comicsgate source. They are ideologues. They are in the pocket of a lot of these.
Now,
these
I
big
wanted to ask you something, because this is more of a movie crowd. When we're talking about overshipment, when we're talking about strangling the LCSs, which means local comic book stores, with conditions to getting any material. With it's pretty much a cartel. Like you remember the De Beers diamond cartel that would only sell as many diamonds as marriages, because 1 diamond per marriage. So they would control the value, because they would control how much product would go out. And they say, if you want to get any, you got to accept this, you got to accept this price and this kind of deal. Is that kind of the deal that's going on with comics now? And yeah, I also wanted to touch on some of these craziness. Do you think it's related to the end of fiscal year?
I think you had a really telling example of how the market views comic shops. You've seen in 2017 you had 50 of them die. Now we're talking about a few thousand of these around, 2,000 plus. So we're not talking about huge numbers. This year, Alterna was talking about how they go out and they send out mailers to thank comic shops. They had to cross 15 off in 1 month because 15 of them had gone out of business. So you may see higher numbers this year. With that, the comic shops, they stood up at San Diego Comic-Con and they said, hey, we can't sell this stuff that you're giving us. So of course, when they talked about that, instead of listening, the panel that was there, they abruptly canceled. And then you had sources like Bleeding Cool calling them sexist, racist, and on, because this is unsellable stuff. So yeah, if you ever speak up, you're going to be de-incentivized in some way. But also, I mean, what can you do about it if you're a pure comic shop?
The thing that they're doing is what Nick Dar is saying over here in the shop, that LCSs and LGSs are most of the time the same thing. The local comic shop has had to become the local gaming shop, right? They've had to diversify just to get another source of income, something else to say, because they're taking a hit on all the comics that they're kind of forced to hold on to.
What comic shops need to do is they need to force, if these companies like Marvel say that these products are movable, then they need to have returnability again. They used to have that at one time. They need to put up or shut up about it. If they truly believe in that, if you had returnability, then you would have overships. Now, overships, basically, the comic industry does this practice where they talk about, hey, we'll give a few extra comics to a shop. So if something's damaged, it'll cover that. Also, those numbers are if you look at the diamond shipping numbers, those numbers are included in there. So you don't really know how healthy the industry is. And multiple sources have complained about that as well. So you have all these practices that, that again, they obfuscate or they camouflage how the industry is doing. And meanwhile, the true measures of that, look at pricing point that has to increase. I mean, that's not healthy if your pricing point keeps going up. Also, it should be telling that you move 450,000 comic books of Action Comics 1000, one of the biggest sellers in 20 years. That thing came in at $8 pricing point. Usually your base buy-in is half that. So you have it at that, and still, that number there, it only allows you this 1% increase with that, all of these reboots and all of this increased pricing point. Meanwhile, the units, they're still down. Graphic novels are still down. You know, we're talking about 6% on individual sales. We're talking about double digits on graphic novels. So, I mean, the real things that you can.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Doug, let me ask you something. This is all kind of getting wonky, which I enjoyed, but I'm not sure if there's in the audience. What the heck?
Sorry, I was open. I was grabbing a snack. Sorry. You guys go on ahead.
You think? I mean, you've been in this whole COMICSGate thing a lot longer than I have. I mean, I've been seeing these problems in the industry as well because I'm a pro. I've been writing about this stuff for 20 years, one way or the other. But I just remember this all sort of didn't start with Zach doing the whole move the needle thing, but his purpose for pressing move the needle was, you know, to help comic book stores move good product, right?
Yeah, it was a positive. It was a positive. We buy comics.
An effort to help comic book stores out, but I just feel like lately the paradigm has shifted into just bailing.
You know, Mike, I think that's a great point. I think though it's because if the big two don't respond the way that Tug is suggesting in those ways, I don't think that they will, because I think some people have mentioned in the past that it's almost like a religion now. So they have to die on this sword. They're going to have to, if there's any type of integrity in their discussion. Now, I'm not saying that there is, but I'm saying if they feel they're looking at themselves like martyrs. So they want to create some sort of like big shakeup. So they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna shift. So the question then is, what could we possibly do if those two companies bail on these small comic shops that are depending on those sales for Amazing Spider-Man? What could possibly happen that we can affect change for them for? How can we help that local comic shop? Is there something really that we can do?
I don't know.
Well, real quick, I'm going to jump off, but I want to say something too, because Tug was mentioning the other night is that they need to start implementing buybacks, you know, because once these buybacks start going, they're going to have no choice but to start making sure that the stories they do give out to the people are going to be good stories, you know, not just anything that they just want to push out there and force it down people's throats. Because if you see these videos on YouTube, which I've been seeing around like crazy, they got videos of people going to comic shops and there's bundles of comics just on the shelf sitting there. They're not even being pushed. They're not even being moved. You know, so the buyback is very important. You know, these comic shops need to be able to sell it back, or now they're going to go out of business.
But I think they get muscled. I straight up think they get muscled. Oh, if you don't sell this, you're going to have a problem. If you sell this, you're going to have a problem. I think I
agree.
I would take 10 or 20 of these local comic book shops that had to close down, and I would grab all their DMs, all these weirdo messages that they're getting, and I would make a really big class action lawsuit. And that's why I'm saying short Disney.
You know, too, when you look at this stuff, if you look at the language of professionals in this, every time someone comes out and they give you this big statement, they don't talk about industry. They talk about community. And when they talk about community, they're not talking about merit. That's why you see outside influencers that have power over whether or not people have jobs. You look at people and you think, how does this person have any kind of influence here? How are they impacting, how are they impacting a professional's job? Well, because this isn't about merit. It's not about merit at all. And when you make something not about merit, then you're going to have not only outside influencers, but you're going to have professionals that are in there that are going to have a declining merit. And on top of that, I mean, I saw that Marvel Comics put out comic book with paper stock, the quality of the paper inside that also had the same quality inside as outside. And what I mean is the cover, the glossy, nice cover, that same paper stock was the type you get inside. It was no longer good. No pricing point decrease. So
you mean like
you're getting a lower
editions?
quality product.
No, dude, no. Like every page, I know what he's talking about because I used to buy these things. In the beginning, the first week that they did it, the ink would run on your fingers by touching the covers. Marvel really cheaped out big time.
Oh.
See, that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate Alterna, because I think, you know, I don't know that we can have both the high end quality product in the quality of the paper and all that, and also have people come back to it, because it's so expensive now. You're talking about $5 for a 10-minute read in most cases, and half the people don't even care about for the book.
Actually, too, you know, when talking about Alterna, I think that's a good subject. A lot of people may not know about. So, this small press comic book company, Alterna, they the guy in charge, Peter Samedi, he has two things that he always does. He wants to appreciate consumers. He says that if you spend money, you know, you're spending your time. You figure money is exchanged for time. So you literally spent life to buy his product, which I was like, all right, that's great. So what he does is he thanks anybody that posts something on Twitter. You know, if they post it and they tag him, he thanks you for it. So he was told by some of these right thinkers out there, you know, these people that are pretty extreme, you know, he was told that you're thinking the wrong consumers. You better stop that. Are you down with them? You know, and of course, he was like, I'm not going to back away from that. Well, then they start trying to undermine him in different ways. Now, one of the things that he has as a policy is a non-block bot policy. Now, if you don't use Twitter, that basically means, like, if you followed me on Twitter, they don't like me because of what I say, they may block me, but they're also going to block everyone that follows me. So if they're calling me a racist, they're calling you a racist too. You know, you run into that, that's insulting. He says you can block individually, but you can't block indiscriminately like that. Because, you know, some of these block bots have 140, 170,000 accounts attached to them. You know, I mean, you're talking monstrous. And when you're moving 200 units a month in some cases, that's not going to work. So what you saw from that is you saw all of these industry professionals attack this man, and they attacked him. They started attacking the people that were on different books, and they were driving books away from his company. They were trying to damage him. They were trying to drive him. You know, he was saying, "Hey, this is affecting my mental health. You know, this is driving me towards suicide." Within the Big Four, somebody said that there was one of the Big Two artists that came out and said something. I can't find anything about that. I cannot find one Big Two artist that said anything. Out of the Big Four, I found one person that stood up and said, "Hey, this is wrong." Meanwhile, you have all those terrible monsters in Comicsgate saying, "Hey, this guy is he's talking about professionalism. You guys are insane, you know, and why are you trying to destroy this guy's company?" So
and these are the same loonies that call us, you know, misogynist and white supremacist just because we didn't like The Last Jedi, because you know they call us crazy things. There's a white people problem in Hollywood, and this is the same lunacy, the same insanity, the same people that talk garbage about the people who are actually honestly reviewing the subject are just spiteful, mean people that are either completely ideologically driven and they don't care about the property, or they have some kind of self-interest and you know, that's why they're hurt about it. And I believe that's why we need honest reviewers like That Umbrella Guy, like world-class bullshitters. So I want you guys to go on ahead. If you haven't subbed to the channel, go ahead and sub to the channel. There are the Patreons. There's a Patreon for That Umbrella Guy. There's a Patreon for That world-class bullshitters. I'm in both of them. I try to go above and beyond with that. But you guys, hey, $1 goes a long way. And you know what? $5, that's only 17 cents a day. So I want you guys to do that. There's also Stealing Solo. You guys can buy that on Indiegogo. You can also buy Mike Miller's Lone Star. You can buy Black and Red. And there will be an upcoming sketchbook by Gary Shipman on Indiegogo. And also we have Critias, which is a Detective Dead. I want you guys to back Lone Star, back all these projects. Lone Star, Mike also has a Patreon, and you guys, you got to give it to the people that are giving it to you straight. You know, we're giving, these people are bullshitters, but they can't bullshit a bullshitter. And we have world class bullshitters. World class. So they're not going to bullshit you because we're watching them. We're taking care of, calling them, holding them to a certain standard. These, rules for thee, but not for me. You know what I'm saying? It's just no good. It's bad for the properties. So what you can do is you can invest in good people that are honest to you and that treat you good,
Mm.
They're like a school during summer. No class.
Well, I want to say thanks, guys, for having me. Because I'm gonna jump off real quick. So I really appreciate it. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Sketch. I really appreciate that.
Anytime,
no,
man.
you know, thanks for being here. Dios te bendiga, que pase buenas noches. You know,
Gracias.
that's my Boricua brother over here. So, you know, I'm giving it up to, you know, give him a little bit of the blessing and show him that we support him here in the island.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. That means a lot to me. You know.
Hey, for real, man. You know about it.
All right, guys. Good night.
Take it easy,
All right,
brother.
So, yeah.
See ya.
Well, that's this. You know, you guys touched on something that's what I was trying to say earlier. I think when these personalities see themselves, they see, this is where it's very difficult. It's like dealing with anybody that's not just politically charged, but philosophically and religiously charged. They see this as like this is almost like their version of evangelism. And this is their version of like, we're gonna, this is why they keep saying things like, we're gonna be on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Because they really sincerely believe that this is, I don't know if they really all sincerely believe this. I think a lot of it's a fad, but for many of them, but the ones who are pushing the message this way, I think they really believe that. And that's why it's difficult to there is no real reasoning with them, because even though we're citing legitimate facts and we're talking about, it's like anything else, like, oh, you know, I understand that you believe in this, but don't you know that the sky is still blue? No, but you just don't understand. You know, it's their version of perverted faith in something that doesn't exist.
I'm gonna switch phones a second. You guys keep talking. I'm just gonna switch phones right quick.
Cool.
We demand from any other industry, we demand professionalism. Now, you know, that doesn't mean an artist can't be an artist. I like people that are entertaining. Like Mike Miller is entertaining as hell. You know, I want him to be the way he is. But I also, you know, at the end of the day, I don't want to be called a Nazi or anything, which a guy like Mike Miller is not going to do to you. He understands professionalism, you know, and these people, they set out there and they decry you because you want professionalism. They decry a company because it talks about professionalism. I mean, we don't even have to get into the product there. That showcases a broken mindset.
Well, I look at it like this. I treat it like I treat going to a restaurant. Would I go into a restaurant and accept, you know, nasty food, this, that, and the other? No. So I don't feel like critiquing a movie or a comic book or whatever is any different, because those people that are, you know, against this movement or whatever, however you want to phrase it, will be the first person to bitch at a restaurant and want this and want that. So you're in the service industry. No matter what you do, you're in the service industry. I'm in the service industry. My service is providing entertainment and content here on YouTube. So I have to listen to the people that watch it and be respectful. And I know how to do that. And it works. We're successful. If I was like them and just was, you know, a big misanthrope the entire time and shit on everybody, where would this channel be? 500 subscribers. I'd be some, you know, dick in a basement playing video games, and maybe once a month would talk about stuff. That's how a lot of big YouTubers have fallen apart. Anybody, you just watch their ego take over, and then there goes their channel. So these people don't have anything of their own, so they're trying to tear down something else.
Whoa, space.
This what you just said was brought up in another stream, and I responded that is very much. I gave the example of this Indian place in downtown that we used to go to probably, you know, 2 or 3 times a year, because it was, you know, it's a little pricey, but the food was just really, really excellent, right? And we went one time, and the food was just okay, and that was it. We have not been back. It's been like 2 years. We never have gone back, and it's the example of us as creators and those other creators who, you know, who don't even venture onto YouTube, but will go on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram, like Frank Cho just did, and tell an entire audience of people to F off out of ignorance in his case, but out of malevolence in a lot of these people's cases, right? They're treating their fans simply for the fact that they may disagree with them on how great a president Donald Trump is. As we all know, he is the greatest president in our generation, but that's beside the point. You know,
okay, I'm gonna jump in here.
Hold on. No, because they insult these people in mass because of some political disagreement, and they do it with this self-righteous attitude. Dude, you burn a fan, you've pretty much burnt them for life. And if
it's just a house rules thing. Like on your channel, if
you make a fan, it's like Sketch. I treated you with respect and dignity. I brought you on my show, right? you're a fan for life now. Unless I
Yes.
come to your house and kill your dog, you're gonna support me, right?
John Wick style. What have you done, dude?
Yeah, don't. It's a cat, but please
But
don't.
that's what these people are doing, and they're so oblivious to it. It's pathetic.
Well, carrying
It
the
is.
restaurant. Do you want to go Sketch? Actually, do you want to say something real quick?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something. Okay, Mike Miller, he has his house rules, right? We can talk about politics as much as we want, but we don't cuss, right? On that umbrella guy, pretty much everything goes. On world class bullshitter, he doesn't like to get too much into the politics.
So a comment like that to me is not getting political. A comment like going on for an hour about having a political discussion, that is completely fine. That's a very benign statement. I don't really care.
Yeah,
I mean, Mike's cool in my book, and that's just, you know, a nice joke. I don't get offended over that shit. So, Mike,
no, I just want to respect the house.
Oh, no,
I
no,
mean, you guys have been really nice to me, and I want to keep everybody happy.
Dude, I'm always you've never brought on a bad guest to this channel. I'm cool with everyone that's here, and everything that's said is fine. Trust me, when it gets overly political and conspiratorial and all that crap, like it's been on some of our Patreon streams, then I'm kind of like, whoa, let's pull it back. But it's fine. It's fine. It's part of the Comicsgate thing too. I mean, you can't really talk about Comicsgate and not get into that type of stuff. So believe me, I'm well aware of the landscape with Comicsgate, and I'm not afraid to step into it. It's not a scary, testy thing. It's to me, it's a consumer movement. To some people, it's other stuff.
I agree with that.
The thing is, dude, we've got left, right, Hillary voters, Trump, but it doesn't matter. That none of that stuff matters in what Comicsgate is about. It's just that the people who are more right-leaning are the ones who have been crapped on more so by the SJW psychos on the left, which I've renamed social media Antifa, because I just feel it suits their milieu a little bit better. But
well, you know,
I think that's why there's more people on the right in it, because we've been the target.
One thing I'd like to jump off to that too is a lot of people that are in it are better than a lot of the people that are like. I'm not trying to sound mean, but there are a lot of Marvel books that look like shit. There are a lot of great Marvel books. There are a lot of great DC books, but there's a lot of books out there that are being produced by these companies that look pretty bad. And I don't know. I think a lot of the people on the Comicsgate side are just like you and Ethan are longtime veterans of the craft.
Yeah.
I think they find that excuse to eliminate competition. Well, that guy draws better than me. Well, let's look at his history. See if he ever drew a boob I didn't like. See if he ever said a statement I didn't like, and let's crucify them.
It's entirely possible.
I mean,
oh, you mean you don't want to be held to a standard of a sketchbook that you drew in 2007? What? You know, where you made a joke? Oh my God! You know, actually, building on what you were saying about the restaurant, though, real quick. These people go further than that because they cook a burger, you know, in the back. They think that they understand how to not only run the restaurant but run every restaurant. And you know, the people that are there as consumers, that's all you are. You know, you buy comics. You don't actually have any kind of business insight. You don't understand anything. You just you're easily dismissed there. Now, if they go out with that and they go out with all these other mentalities, okay, if they win at the end of the day, like Mike said, okay, their win, what does that do? It drives away consumers. So congratulations. I mean, you are killing your industry by doing this stuff. Good job on that side of it. Meanwhile, again, you have pros that are over here saying, hey, you know, we hear you. You know, we want to make a good comic, and, you know, we want to entertain. And, you know, I don't particularly see the argument that the other side can come up with, you know, that they don't base in buzzwords, basically, or qualifiers. You know, you're an ist, you're a phobe. Well, you know, when you break it down, it's just, it's total disrespect.
No, you know, I talked to John Malin about this pretty much through the chat, but I said, look, we need a comic that says gay is gay, right? Because they say, you're, you know, it should be about like persecuted people that are persecuted because of their ideological beliefs, and it doesn't matter that they're gay; they're still persecuted, right? Because you're a person of color unless you lean the wrong way or say the wrong thing or believe in the wrong right. You're LGBTQ whatever, unless you know you believe in the wrong thing, you believe in the wrong rights.
They're all Uncle Toms.
as soon as that happens,
That's what it is.
You're all of a sudden dehumanized, punchable Nazi, right? So it doesn't matter. They claim to be the protectors of the people of color, of the LGBTQ, of the whatever, but they are not. They are the protectors of an ideal, and as long as that ideal is not is met, they love you, right? And kind of. If you don't meet that ideal, kind of. I mean, they have like a very particular, like one race they go after, and it's kind of weird because we've seen kind of people do that before. But not to get too political about it, they don't care about your color if you're not on their ideological spectrum. They don't care about your gender or your preference unless you're on that side of their ideological beliefs. If you are on that side, yes, they are your shield. They are your agents. You don't have your own agency. They will speak for you. But if you decide to speak for yourself, or if you divert from their ideological leanings, then you're all of a sudden not a person. You're dehumanized. You're punchable. They can do whatever they want to you. And I don't think that's right. I don't think it's fair. And I want to ask Jeff, have you seen any of these craziness? Do these people go after you at all? You seen like crazy messages or that kind of thing?
I don't do social media. I don't run Twitter at all. We have a guy that runs the Twitter, and I told him unless it's important, I don't care. And I'll get in contact with anybody that needs to contact with me. We've spoken over Twitter. That's how I talk to certain people, but we keep it on our Facebook group. We keep it moderated, and I don't mean moderated to where we watch what you say, but we've had a couple people try to get in and troll, and I don't mean like, post stupid memes. That's all fun. I'm talking like try to go out of their way to cause problems. We don't really have that. And we have there's 4 guys involved with this channel. Everyone just knows me, but there's Nick, Dion, and Kendo and Nick really do watch a lot of that stuff. And we have a whole a process before we have like a private group that people can get involved, but there's like a process to get in, and we're pretty good about that stuff. I'm sure stuff is said about me. I was on a Star Wars forum the other day, and they started talking shit about my videos without naming me. I'm like, okay, well, I clearly know who they're talking about.
Voldemort.
Yeah, it's just whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't get it as much as other people do, and if I did, it doesn't bother me. I can't be demoralized by social media because it's not fucking real. People meet me, they won't say this shit to my face, so I don't fear that stuff. With the quartering, he went through some stuff that wouldn't happen because when I go to the shows, I'm with the guys from the channel, and we have Dion, who's a security expert, and I'm a giant, and it's a different dynamic to get these people in front of you in real life. That's why I treat everyone nicely online, so when I meet them in person, they know what kind of guy I am. I don't give off a fake vibe.
And what you said right there is why I was trying to coin the term social justice Antifa, because it's only online, right? It's only on, or not social justice, social media. It's only on social media. They're the loudmouth. They're the Mark Wades that say they're gonna, hey, bring Zach to me if you see him at a con. It's like, what are you gonna do? It's like
I'll walk up to any of these people and be like, hey, what's up?
They wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't even say anything.
No. You could walk up to Chuck Wendig's table at a convention and say, hey, I didn't really like your book, and he wouldn't cuss at you like he does on social media.
Right.
No,
right.
Not at all.
People to block us. I've never spoken to Chuck Wendig ever, or even about him. But one day somebody said something about him, and it said we're blocked from his Twitter. I'm like, oh, okay, so blanket block. We're making it.
Yeah.
They do that block
Twitter and they think they're freaking Antifa.
Now, real quick before we go into the next point, we had a super chat from Jeremy Peerboom. Jeremy Peerboom's awesome. He's an artist. He's doing a project. I'm trying to get him to do Indiegogo because he's really good. But he says, "Damn, Jeff, great Rogues Gallery here tonight. Jeremy, you got to join us for one of these, dude. I'm gonna do a sketch party where I'm trying to figure out how to get my program.
But he's been on the Patreon Hangouts, right? I kind of feel like he's familiar. That avatar.
Oh, he's a huge fan of the channel. He's been on the Patreon Hangouts. He's had a couple hangouts with me. He drove 9 hours to come to Horror Hound and hang out with us on Saturday night.
Oh, that's who it was.
And then he drove all the way home that night. We texted him the next day to make sure he made it home safe. He's like, "Oh, I don't care. I had to be here to hang out," and it was awesome. But he drove 9 hours to hang out and went right back home afterwards. Had we had extra space to let him sleep in the room, it would have been fine. But we had 5 dudes in a room where one of the guys was sleeping in the hallway. There was literally no other space to have. I mean, if he could stand up in a closet, he was more than welcome to.
I'm gonna come see you at Horror Hound. I'm gonna come see you.
Definitely.
Can I interrupt real quick? I have a
No.
I have
Shut up,
a
Gary.
Okay.
Gary, speak, please. We're just busting your balls.
I have a live stream scheduled in like 4 minutes, so I need to go.
Okay, I understand. You guys, could you do me a really, really big favor, Jeff? Could you drop Gary's link down in the description? You know, if you guys want to subscribe and check it out later, you're gonna find some great art. If you guys are looking for really good art, if you want something that's gonna be a great story that you can, you know, you're gonna be able to show your kids, and it's gonna
what's
be
it called?
Let me see, Gary Shipman.
Because I want to say, Gary, I was watching you ink. I love it, man. It reminds me of Art Adams stuff. I just like the way you were inking it. So that was really fun.
I love Arthur Adams. He was one of my biggest influences back in the 80s. And he really, actually, I used to hang around his table as a fan and just watch him draw. And
you also got to meet Dave Sim, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I met Dave Sim. I met Steve, he passed away, the guy who did Rocketeer.
Oh, Dave Stevens?
Yeah, he was actually really cool to me. He would do little drawings for me. He never liked to do drawings for people because he thought he was no good, but he was always really cool. And he would do like drawings and he'd say "gag me" on them and stuff like that. It was fun.
How could he not think he was good? He was great.
Yeah, he was great, but he didn't think he was.
Oh man, that's him and Michael Turner were two artists I would have liked to have met, but obviously they've passed away. But man,
Mike Turner was like the nicest guy in comics. I knew him before he even got to Top Cow.
You know, I've seen a similar thing with Gary Shipman where he doesn't think he's that great, but we're seeing that he's great, and he's also a very nice person. So, you know, you guys should subscribe to Gary Shipman.
Well, thank you. Anyways, I'm going to fly. Thank you for having me on. All you guys are awesome, and hopefully we'll meet again.
Definitely.
Good to have you. Pleasure to have you.
Thanks a lot.
I want to do give a thanks. I think he's probably one of your audience members because I got a couple of people picking up Lone Star during this stream. So G Bob CS, whoever you are, if you're a part of this stream, then thank you. And the other one's anonymous, so I can't say it.
I get quite a few of those too. I'm like, okay, cool. I appreciate it. You'll get your book, but I won't put your name in it. Jeremy Peerbum says, "Can I join now?" Well, Jeremy Peerbum, I sent you a link, man. So remember, this is a Patreon stream, and you're an artist, and so I sent you a link, dude.
I've spoken to him before. I think we've been on live streams together. He's cool.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Well, just to go off what we were talking about before about, you know, the quality of the books, the business, the fandom menace, right? Now, I haven't been in comics for a long time, and I am absolutely comics gay, but I come from Last Jedi. I come from being rejected and shunned by these other channels. I've spoken a little bit on this before. But, you know, one thing that we are also doing is bringing in a lot of new customers, right? A lot of people that said, look, I haven't even been in comics for 10, 20 years, or I was never really into them. I mean, when I got into them was during the Image Exodus, right? I remember when McFarlane was doing Amazing Spider-Man. Man, then he jumped on to do his own Spider-Man run. I remember Eric Larson when he wasn't so crazy online and there was no online. I remember Mark Bagley. I remember all these guys. I remember Jim Lee when he had those crazy 4 covers that you could have one that opened into the 4-cover poster and all that. I remember all these
X-Men artist ever.
Yeah, he was definitely up there. I mean, it's kind of like a personal thing. I would definitely put him top. I like some of Silvestri's work. He was pretty good with the. Oh man, there's so many good, and you don't see that level of you know, of like you were saying before. You don't see that level anymore in the action books, in what should be their flagships. You know, you're not seeing that quality anymore.
Well, Umbrella Guy talked about the Action Comics number 1000. I picked up 2 copies of that book. And I know one of my reasons for picking it up is very shallow. It's because they brought back Superman's red trunks. But also I flipped through it, and they had, I believe it was Dan Jurgens that was working on the book. They had Jose Garcia Lopez. They had some really great, iconic artists on that book. And then I checked out the new Superman number 1 from Bendis, and I didn't buy it because it was kind of crappy. I didn't, but the art was there. Was it Ivan Reis or Ivan Reis? That dude brought it. He always brings it. I was very impressed with that. But just the book, I don't buy on a writer's name. So like if Brian Michael Bendis is writing something, I don't get, oh my god, I got to pick it up, because I read Ultimate Spider-Man and I don't like Ultimate Spider-Man that much. So I have a different view on Brian Michael Bendis' work. I don't think he's bad at all.
You're not alone. A lot of people, a lot of people feel that way, honestly, with Bendis. But you know what's scary about the like Action Comics 1000? Yeah, it brought all this stuff with it. But I mean, think about that for the. So you bought 2 copies of it. You spent $16 on 2 comics. So you know, and that's we're not talking about. We're not talking about independents, you know, like the independents out here are producing, you know, at a certain pricing point because, well, they deal with a smaller quantity. I mean, we're talking about Marvel, who could definitely deal with a smaller pricing point, but you know, they don't. They bring you, or whether that was DC, but I mean, Marvel did that as well with their amazing Spider-Man 800. They had a $10 pricing point comic. So
I think I skipped on that, and I've told the other guys Spider-Man's my favorite. I have like 70% of the run, because it used to be 75, but I stopped buying it, so it's now 70. I don't mind spending $10 on a comic book if I can enjoy all of it. I don't like some of the backup stories or the characters they push in Spider-Man. To me, Spider-Man's been ruined because it used to be about Peter Parker and his world. Now it's there's 10 different Spider-Mans. There's different universe. There's Spider-Gwen. There's all this other shit. I don't like the world that he inhabits anymore. So them expanding upon it's kind of ruined it for me.
They definitely diluted that brand terribly.
They've done it to so many of them. I mean, you really think like they have that comic. They have Batman 50 that moved 450,000 units. They have all these huge hitters this year, and those huge hitters, still the average comic is so low that they call last year the comic recession. I mean, that is their wording for it. The comic, not a comic recession, but the comic recession. So far they've made a little over 1% more money when you look at the entirety of single issues. Now, if you add graphic novels in there, they're still losing money. They're down more than last year. So
can I just say I'm still mad about One More Day?
I am too. But you know what? Stuff has come post One More Day, in my opinion, that is way more heinous to Spider-Man. So looking back, while I don't love One More Day, I read it for years after it. That wasn't the one that kind of just stopped me. It was when Spider-Man became Tony Stark. That's when it
went downhill after that. It just kept rolling downhill.
I will say there was a couple issues, maybe not a whole year, but there was a while where Spider-Man was 3 times a month. And Bob Gale, one of the writers for Back to the Future, wrote the book. And it was really good. And Spider-Man was fighting the mob. I know a lot of people don't know this or even care, but like there was a time where Spider-Man fought a lot of gangsters, especially in the early days. So there was the Enforcer.
I heard
the Big Man.
I heard that the Doc Ock thing was weird, but kind of cool.
Oh, when he switched his body to was it Superior Spider-Man? I loved that. I bought every issue.
Okay. But they're putting it on price now. I mean, they've lost the good storytellers, and now they're upping the price. Is like that Umbrella was saying, their numbers, they're fudging the numbers, they're fudging what they're doing all over the place, and it's just strange and weird.
Well, speaking of strange and weird, what's strange and weird is Spider-Man was the Mickey Mouse of Marvel. He was their flagship character for. Once he became their number one character, maybe you had Wolverine and the X-Men in the early 90s, and that was about it, kind of maybe take his spot. But Spider-Man's been Mr. Marvel the entire time. I know they're trying to expand the brand, but they have forced so many of these newer characters, not just Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, but like other ones that have just not worked out. The only other character that I think Marvel can really bank on anymore is Deadpool. And now with Disney owning the rights to all of the Marvel characters through Fox, we may not see an R-rated Deadpool 3. We may see a big drop in what Deadpool is because they want to be, maintain that family-friendly outlook.
Well, the MCU was pretty much managing itself.
Yeah. What was that, Mike?
Disney did Pulp Fiction.
Well, through a sister company, Miramax. No, I see where you're coming from with that. I just think they won't take the chance with, Deadpool being Marvel, and they'll think, well, parents don't understand the difference.
Well, I mean, they've already got 2 very, very successful Deadpool movies that are rated R, so I don't think they're that dumb.
Oh, I do. Look at Star Wars, man. Look at Star Wars. That was a license to print money, and now you can find the shit in the dollar store. I mean, If we look, it's $3 for a stormtrooper. If we go back to 70s prices, they were $1.99 back then. If we do inflation, we're talking what, 50 cents for a Star Wars
Okay, hey,
figure?
you know what, Jeff? Since you're a Star Wars guy, let me, because Sketch hates this theory of mine. I believe that Marvel and Disney are falling into the same trap as far as like Star Wars content goes, is that they've put it on a schedule where you have to put out a movie every year, which means, you know, they didn't line up a director for episode freaking 8, you know, 5 years in advance and give him time to work out a good story. I mean, a lot of times good writers take literally years to write a script. And I like some of Rian Johnson's other movies. Brothers Bloom, I think, is great. Brick, for a fledgling thing, is I think it's fantastic for this low budget film. Looper's okay. I wasn't thrilled with it, but I expected it to be a lot better because of his previous body of work. But his previous body of work were movies that came out years and years apart because he took so much time to work on it. But they like threw this at him, and they said, "Okay, we need to go into pre-production in 3 months," you know, and and that's, I mean, it's not just that. You see it with these other movies too. They're like, we got to get a Star Wars movie out every year, you know, which means writer and the script in any movie to me is the most important part because it is the structure and the foundation of the film itself. So if you're telling the most important factor of your story, you got 3 to 6 months to crank something out, you're not going to get, you know, a magnum opus. You know, the freaking first Star Wars movies didn't come out every year. You know, they came out over the span of, what, a decade.
Every 3 years, yeah, 77, 80, and 83.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't hate
like
that theory, but I don't hate
You
that
hated
theory.
it when I said it the first time.
Well, what I hate is that I don't think Rian Johnson had a lot to say in that script. I think there was a lot of things that were kind of spiteful because, like I was saying before, I used to follow all the Jedi Council news. I used to follow every single Collider show every single day. And you know me, Mike, I show up every day, don't I?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that script could have used 4 or 5 rewrites, you know?
Okay, JJ was fired, right? This was big news. They tried to tone it down the next day. It looked like they got a call from Marvel. Hey, don't say that stuff. But that's what had to happen, right? So when you have JJ being fired, you get Ryan hired to destroy everything that JJ made. It was kind of a spiteful thing, right? And I remember
And a last minute thing.
And a last minute thing. Yes, but okay, when you have your reputation on the line, I think there was a lot of executive interference, right? I think Kathleen had a lot to do with that script, right? And I think a first draft shouldn't have been accepted. So to me, he is responsible, number one, for allowing it. He should have skipped out. I mean, there's no good reason for him to sign his name on it. And it's just a bad script. It's a complete misunderstanding of Star Wars, even if they have their story group. He could have taken out of his pocket 10 grand and found a better story group, I think, just going into YouTube, right? People passionate and understanding of the lore that would say, look, you can't do this with the mechanics. You can't do this with, you know, you understand what I'm saying? Even within that time frame, there's no understanding of the lore and the concept of what Star Wars is in that script.
Disney also buys into, they've started buying into headlines. Like when you look at, okay, Black Panther has the same type of headlines, not talking about the movie, just the headlines as The Force Awakens did. You know, the Force is female, all of these things. They buy into the jargon. You hear it reflected when they have their shareholder meetings. They talk about these movies that way, and it starts to permeate the movies. They start believing that is why it was successful. They're not looking at other factors out there. They're buying into other people's headlines. You can see that as they start promoting movies. I mean, you can see that, you know, run down that proverbial rabbit chute, and you're going to see that with Marvel movies too. I think they bought into the headlines for Black Panther. You know, what was Black Panther? No, it wasn't an average superhero movie. You know, it wasn't a good superhero movie, however you look like it. It was a cultural touchstone. It was the first movie to showcase a marginalized audience. And they have been reflecting that idea. You know,
how many categories do they have in the Oscars?
Not enough for Black Panther.
The thing you just pointed out, Tug, is the reason that Black Panther was the first Marvel movie I did not see in theaters. because I wanted to see, before it came out, before it became political, when we just saw like previews and stuff, man, I was like, yeah, I want to see it, I want to see it. It got so political with all the crap that you just mentioned, I just completely lost interest. I just watched it on Netflix like last week for the first time.
What'd you think?
I thought it was decent.
Yeah, I think
it wasn't like, what were they giving it, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah,
People talk about it. Well, even reviewers, they would say, it's not a really good movie, you know, but, you know, it's certified fresh, you know, because political content. This is the first. And
we covered that on the channel, like, you know, I'm not white, nor is Dion, and we both were like, this is some heavy-handed bullshit. And people like to forget Blade came out 20 years ago. Spawn came out before that. I mean, there were black superhero films. There was, even if you want to take it as a joke, Meteor Man, Blank Man. There were things out there, but it's because of, you know, 2018 politics. And then when you get to having the discussions with people, they're like, well, it's the first time they're portrayed as a king and this and that. I'm like, you know what? You're just trying to pick out little things to make this movie more than it was. It was a fine film. It wasn't.
What was that one with Will Smith, Hutch or Hitch or something?
Oh no, Hancock.
Hancock.
Man, that was great.
Well, Hitch was also him, but it's a different kind of hook.
I actually kind of like Hitch.
You know, the other side.
Yeah,
of that,
right.
You know, the other side of all of that too. I mean, when you look at the way that they diffuse criticism, I mean, I read Washington Post. I thought they were very telling, and this stuff was picked up by so many other people. They again called this movie a cultural touchstone. When people talked about, hey, you know, this isolational setup, it's reminiscent of some of the politics now. No, you can't talk about that because really, we're not talking about. Here we're talking about Afrofuturism. They would come up with their own dialogue for it, you know, their own way to deflect criticism or any other thing that you said. And it was kind of amazing. I loved watching this. This.
Oh, they sound like they
cultural,
want to
you know,
move to
oddity.
Wakanda. They want to move to Wakanda. Like, it's not a real place, and monarchy suck.
Exactly.
We fought monarchy. We don't like serfdom. We like freedom. Stop selling serfdom, please.
You know, I thought Chadwick Boseman was great in Civil War, and I liked the character Black Panther. But the movie's fine. I think it's the culture surrounding it. Now, Wonder Woman, I was worried was going to be that shit back in last June, and
I loved it.
The media made it out to be that. Warner Brothers really didn't, and then you saw the movie, and it really wasn't. Was it perfect? No, it was really good up until the last 20 minutes when she fights Ares.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree.
Good point.
But it was a solid movie.
I found the first third when they were on the islands to be kind of lacking. But I like the middle of the movie is just.
You know what? I found the effect.
I was like, I never knew I wanted a Wonder Woman movie.
I found the effects at the beginning to be better than the effects at the end, though.
Maybe it's because I was watching it in 3D, and I hate freaking 3D.
Yeah.
It just it looks. I didn't like it in 3D, so maybe I should watch it again in 2D.
Well, I just think Marvel's going to fall into their own trap. Look, we can all have differing opinions on these superhero flicks. You like some, I like some. But the point is, DC hasn't fallen into the whole woke category. Marvel seems to be getting ready to jump into that. Black Panther, they were testing the waters. People praised the movie. I don't think the movie had too much of it, except that colonizer shit and Michael B. Jordan's message. But with Captain Marvel, be prepared for that. Because that's going to be what now I know this sounds crazy, but I'm hoping that Shazam makes so much money that people forget about this Captain Marvel movie and we see our first Marvel flop. Not because it's a female-led Marvel flick, because if this was Black Widow, I'd be there day one excited because I like the character.
Yes.
Well, what's another name for him? What's another name for Shazam? What's the other
Captain
name for
Marvel,
Shazam?
yeah.
Captain Marvel, that's right.
But I hope that it's a huge success for DC because they need to realize that all their movies don't have to be these dark, gritty, Dark Knight-based movies. It's like, dude, Shazam is going to be light and fun and colorful. Do that.
Well, Mike,
I'll admit I LOL'd.
They've been chasing the Dark Knight high since 2008. For 10 years, they've been trying to replicate that. Look, it was the perfect storm of Heath Ledger, his death, his performance, the film. It came out in a year where Marvel was just starting out, so they kind of had the summer to themselves. It was, people say, oh, it was this great summer. I say it was kind of a weak summer. You had Indiana Jones fail. Speed Racer was a disappointment. Whatever Will Smith movie came out that year, I think it was Hancock. I was iffy on that. You had a bunch of shit kind of not hit. And then The Dark Knight comes out and it gets an Oscar, and it was the first one to make $1 billion and all this crap. And it was the gold standard. Not anymore. and they need to stop trying to chase that and stop trying to rip off other stuff and just have their own identity.
I
Yeah.
say that Batman works better alone than in the Justice League world.
You know, I just saw that again last night. Believe it or not, I put it on. I started to feel like, I wonder if I was just giving it. I was too hard on it in the first place. But the more I watched it, it was really all the things that you guys are describing. It really was trying too hard to be something else. And if I had to give it a rating today, I never said I hated it. I just always said that I wasn't. I just didn't care. And that's the problem with that movie. They didn't invest. Like, upon the second viewing, I've only seen this the second time. The Cyborg was actually a very interesting character after all, and I thought, man, he really could have had his own story, and it would have been fairly interesting to see his character develop into something way more interesting. And but then he just had this he had this little side story in that whole movie because they were really trying to focus on bringing back Superman, which I still don't care for. Superman.
I think the fault, besides all of the characters, besides Aquaman and Wonder Woman being the only two characters with any charisma, was that they were trying to catch up to Avengers.
Right.
They're like, oh, let's just introduce these other main characters in this little tiny vignette at the end of freaking Batman versus Superman.
They didn't want to do the work. I mean, how did the MCU start? Easter eggs. They had Easter eggs in Iron Man, Easter eggs in Captain America. They wanted to jump after
15 years to build the universe
Yep.
for Avengers.
It was
And
ham-handed.
Tried to do this in like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
That's why I think the Nolan trilogy, within its world, that darkness works, right? But having a Justice League that's that dark, it's just not. It's not. You can't do Heath Ledger, Chris Nolan's Batman with the whole universe like that. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny is, even though it was a terrible movie, the fact that there was one other character in the JLA that had his own movie prior to this, and they didn't use him, I think that was such a misstep. Freaking Green Lantern should have been in that movie.
Yeah, to repair what had happened before.
I think they're too.
They
cautious
repaired it
with
at the
that.
end of Deadpool too.
Guess so.
Have you guys heard that Tom Cruise is in talks to play Hal Jordan, but they wanted to kill him off, so he said he wouldn't play, and now they're trying to readapt the script. I don't want to kill off Hal Jordan.
Play a great older Hal Jordan, bringing in a young Jon Stewart.
That could work.
Like a buddy film. Make it 48 hours with the.
Yeah, go R-rated all the way.
Yeah.
With Tom Cruise and that
Jordan
could
B.
work.
White or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, Mike.
Yeah. I think that could work. I don't know. I mean, I'm not at EVS levels of understanding the Green Lantern Corps and all this. I think it could work, but I don't. The thing is, I think they kind of have to scrap what they have now. I like BVS, but I like the extended version. I think the short version, as I understand it, makes no sense, right? Even within that, right? I think it was, I didn't like it. Let me see how I can put it. I really didn't think it was Justice League. It just felt like something else. Man of Steel was, like I said, a little too dark. I think they went into that, that previous Batman darkness that did not need to happen. I think they need to kind of scrap it.
If they were going to scrap it, they'd have to pull back from those characters, and they'd have to start again. They'd have to build up like a Captain Marvel or a Shazam. Do some fun stuff like a Plastic Man film.
But you could have Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Well, no. Yeah, what I'm saying is like, you need space. You need space, but you can't just reboot now, right? So you divert to the other characters that you have in this universe. Do a freaking decent Teen Titans.
But I think that's what they're doing, though, because they're going to a Joker origin. They're giving them space to switch out, whoever comes down the line after this Batman. I think the only thing that's currently in universe, and it is because it was already scripted and in production, is Shazam, which I gotta admit, it made me LOL. the trailer, I was like, you know what, I might just check this out. You know,
Well, I'm a
and he-
superhero.
he doesn't have an RBF. He doesn't have that face, you know.
I can't deal with that costume though. It looks so.
It does look weird.
It looks-
Okay, I'll admit
it's like
that.
made of plastic. I don't like that.
They probably fix it in post.
And I love Captain Marvel Shazam. I love that character. I ever since in fact, one of my big stories that I want to do is inspired by that character. So now that I'm watching, I'm like, But I mean, you know what though? I've also learned over the years that I don't like to be so critical up front. I think one of the downsides to all this conversation is I've become angry, like a crotchety old man again about some of these things.
Welcome to the club.
I miss being surprised at some of these things and going, you know what? I just want to see it. I want to enjoy it. I want to experience it first before I draw my criticisms. But it's just hard.
I'll draw some hate here. I liked The Last Jedi, and you guys have made me hate it.
Good. At least you see the lightning, Mike. That's all that matters.
I watched it last week, and I'm like,
you know who went through that, Jeremy?
Why can't I enjoy these things anymore?
I can't bring myself to watch it even on Netflix. I just can't. The only one that I genuinely enjoyed. I mean, it for me, it's as good as any saga film. Was that Rogue One? I was really impressed with that.
Yeah, Rogue One's solid. That seems to be the Disney movie most people just go, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but
it's not as heinous.
I've got a bounce. I got a thing at 10:15, so
right,
I'm going to get out. But it's been fun. I appreciate it. You know, with your book, man, you need to come on and we could talk about it one day. Mike too. You know, we've been talking about getting everybody lined up when this potato of a computer is replaced at the end of the month.
Well, just shoot me an email.
Thanks for having me on.
I'll find a way to contact you.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Real quick, the Rookie Critic, thank you very much for your super chat. For a bullshitter, you're a really hard worker, Jeff. Well, Rookie Critic, thank you very much. I know you're a hard worker too, so folks, check out the Rookie Critic's channel. He does some good stuff, great stuff. Not good, great.
Well, you know, you're world-class bullshitter, so you got to bullshit these bullshitters. It is hard work because they sling a lot of bullshit.
I think the reason I have the name is because it's catchy. Like when you say it, people go, oh, okay. And it's kind of, you know, it sticks with them. But then when they really listen to the content, they go, oh, these guys actually know what they're talking about. So it's always fun to, you know, burst through those first impressions.
I like to call them on it. I think that's what you do. You're calling them on their, you know, they're just talking out both sides of their mouth. Yeah, you know, it's you can do this, but you can't, and this is good, and this is bad, and it's always what's convenient to them. I mean, when they see that a movie's going to go bad, they start with, like, they're going full Ghostbusters 2016. You remember that? They knew they had a bad. They knew it. They knew it was bad. They knew the people didn't like it. So the second, even before the movie drops, it was all misogyny and this and that. And they're doing the same things to these other properties because they know it's not going to be good. They know it. They know it.
You want to hear something sad, and it's not in any way to excuse why there are so many bad films. But have anybody ever read Robert McGee's story?
Which one?
I own it. I have yet to read it. I'm working on it.
He was like a teacher of, actually I think he's still around, but he would teach screenwriting, sort of the old school, old-fashioned way, and he would say that, you know, back in the 40s and the 50s, his book wouldn't have been necessary because everyone in Hollywood knew how to write. But I mean, this is a guy who spent time as a reader as well, and he's like, there's a reason so many bad movies get made in Hollywood, and unfortunately the reason is those are the best scripts they've got. There's such a lack of understanding of what good writing is, that there's really a bare handful of people who know how to do it in Hollywood.
Well, it's all a bunch of, hey, you're my buddy, let's get you a job, or you have the right ideals.
Yep, nepotism. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in comics too. People that are getting hired just because they're friends and because of the way that they hired. And that Umbrella guy just spoke on this. I kind of wish he was here because he spoke on the nepotistic way that people are hired because they were at the right party, because, you know, they have the right clique. and they know the right people because they're hiring people because they're from Portland and they have these ideals and this and that, and it's just like a crazy way to run a business. They're doing it in comics, they're doing it in movies, they're doing it everywhere. But you know what? I want to tell the people out there, you can do something about this. You do have a power. When you take that $100 that you were going to spend taking your family out to dinner and a movie, you know what? Stay home, get a pizza, and you watch some world-class bullshitters. You watch some Aloha Hour. You watch Elliot do a little bit of his drawing and talking a little bit about everything. You buy Stealing Solo. You buy Lone Star. You put your money where it's being invested in good people that care about you as an individual, not about what your leanings are. And I just wanted to say that, and I just want to say I really support this channel. I'm really thankful for honest reviewers. I'm really thankful for creators that treat the people well, because these people think that we're their piggy banks and they can just trash talk us and we're gonna come back. Right? The restaurant metaphor, I completely agree. If I go to my favorite burger joint and they give me a shit sandwich and I say, well, I wanted a burger. No, you eat that shit sandwich or you're just a Nazi misogynist. I'm not going back. I don't care if your next Subway, your next sub is great. I don't care if your next burger is great. I'm not going to Solo. I'm not going to watch Resistance. I'm not going to watch Plan 9 Chapter 11. I'm not going to watch it because you insulted me already and I'm not going back.
Can I tell you a true story? Do we have time for a true story real quick?
Yes,
Go
we
for
do.
it.
We have plenty
Go
of time,
for it.
man.
So check this out. When I was a younger man, I was working at this company, and we used to go to lunch me and my buddies used to go to lunch all the time. And I'm not going to name the sandwich place because I think it's still in business, and I don't want to throw them any shade. But when I remember they focused on what they called heroes or subs, right? Because they're from Jersey or something. And so I remember the gentleman that used to make the sandwiches would get mad because I would ask for mayonnaise on my sandwich. And so I would get an Italian and I'd ask for mayonnaise. And he'd say, every time I'd go there, he'd tell me, you're ruining this sandwich. And I'd say, well, what do you mean? He goes, because you're putting mayonnaise. It wasn't meant to have mayonnaise. I said, well, I love mayonnaise. And he goes, I understand, but you're ruining the sandwich. And this went on for months until one day I go in there and the gentleman, I guess I can't call him a gentleman. He decides to retaliate. he makes my sandwich. I asked for mayonnaise. In fact, I would ask for extra mayonnaise. And he said, I'm not going to do it. I said, what do you mean you're not going to do it? Because I'm not going to do it. I said, but I want mayonnaise. He goes, I'm not going to put mayonnaise on your sandwich. I said, well, then I'm not going to buy your sandwich. And I never went back. And I never thought of myself as someone who would I don't think it was necessarily a protest either. It was just legitimate, to your point, that it's not serving the customer to reject their interest. They're there to spend money, and you're telling them, no, I don't want to give you what you're asking for.
You ran into the sandwich Nazi.
That's what I called him forever. Sandwich Nazi.
No sandwich for you.
Oh man, and I remember I was sitting in the restaurant fuming. I said, "Oh boy, I don't want to buy all of this." He made the sandwich and everything, and I said, "I'm not going to take it."
Can I touch on this? Okay, tell me, if he would have said to you, look, I know you like mayonnaise, but I make this thing with love, and I think if you just tried it once without the mayonnaise, you might actually like it. If he was nice about it, would you have maybe tried it once?
Well, here's the thing. He snuck my sandwich that one of those times, and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't put the mayonnaise in there. I apologize." So, yeah, if he had been nice about it and I wanted to try it, sure. But I was, listen, I'm a sandwich.
Because maybe he just wants to be like, yeah, but that's not what they do. They like just stay mad, and this is not what Disney does. Disney didn't go like, hey, you know what? Maybe we made a bad movie, but we got good people. We're gonna try new things. They don't do that. They double and triple down on treating you bad if you don't like their comic, if you don't like their movies. Then they just double and triple down, and I think that's hurting a lot too. I mean,
Yeah, but I gotta say, if I was working in a restaurant and somebody ordered a steak well done, no.
Done. No steak for you.
No steak for you. I like them well done.
No.
I don't like meat too rare, man. I go medium well usually. I don't go well. I go like medium well.
Oh, that's a little better.
I can't have well done. I mean, Puerto Ricans, we cook that meat hard. You know, we do tend to do that. But you should come down and have the pork. We really love the pork, and there's a lot of like local cuisine that's very very flavorful. We're heavy on the saltiness and the condiments and all that. So I know you're suffering as a Boricua a little bit. Is missing that. Am I right, Elliot?
Yeah, well, I can't eat that stuff anymore.
Oh man, that must be. I feel your pain. I'm gonna eat it for you in your name. And
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Raise a pork chop. You know, this was for Elliot.
I'll shed a tear. Well, you know, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say it's unfortunate because you know the reality is this. You know, you were mentioning about this is what you can do. You can support these projects. I also one of the things I try to focus on when I talk on my channel, and this is what I try to focus on. It doesn't always end up that way, but I try to encourage creators to create. You know, one of the challenges I think that we've done is we've given the keys of creativity away to people like the big two companies. And we're living in a time where you can practically distribute anything, any way you like with the internet. And I tell these kids, if you, instead of trying to change a character's a gender or a character's ethnicity, create that character yourself. Don't be afraid to make your own thing. Try it. I know it seems scary, but look at all these guys doing it now. And you just want to call them Nazis for doing it themselves. You know, I'm doing a book that's art book and is related, you know, it's some of the art is mainstream stuff, but these guys who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into their books, Mike Miller and even Ethan doing his thing, as much as, you know, people will look and say, oh, he's a established comic guy, but so is Mike, and so is Doug, and so are all these guys who are trying to create something fresh and new to bring a new story to the world. I think it's a shame that everyone's, I mean, literally, these guys are banking on the fact that no one's going to make that move. That all these young people, all these young readers are going to get stuck on whether or not Spider-Man lives or dies this way. And I think that's really a shame. I think we should have more dignity and respect for ourselves as creators. If you're a creator out there and you have an idea, go get it done, and don't waste your time trying to fight this fight. Go make your own thing.
I also think I'd like to touch on that, and I'd like to touch on Alterna and, you know, the optioning out of LCSs, because I remember a lot of us got our first comics at a grocery store. I remember that I had some comics that had a barcode, and some comics would have Spider-Man's face on it.
Yeah, I remember those
right?
days.
Because there was a little bit of a difference. Now I can touch on Alterna and say, look, yes, you can have your Indiegogo, have it be successful, have this, you know, high quality collectible, but you can also have Alterna printed out and take it to the gas station, to the grocery store, and to the pharmacy, and not have to go through Diamond, because Diamond doesn't have a cartel on the pharmacy. They buy whatever magazines they want.
You're right. That's an exciting concept to me.
You could get your cheap newsprint, you know, cat spankers like they call them, your floppy comics, and have them out there. Have them out there for the kids. That's why I brought Gary Shipman on, because I believe for him that would be great, because he's already got, I believe it's 18 issues, right? So he's got 18 issues that are just ripe to go right into that, right? I know he's trying to do his Indiegogo first so he can, like, you know, get the audience and start that going. But I don't think this thing is mutually exclusive. You can have both the high quality collectible that gets crowdfunded, and once that's funded, you can have a cheap print run through Alterna if it gets too difficult to do through other mediums, or to self do the print. I mean, you know, I'm just
same thing, Sketch.
Excuse me.
I said I've said the exact same thing.
So
well, then I agree with you 100%.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the only caveat I have, and it's because I actually went out to the comic shop last week, and I specifically looked for alternatives. I had never even really paid attention to that brand before until I started speaking to Peter myself. So I go out there, and I remember you guys talking, Mike, in the very beginning when I first started listening to everyone talk about this topic and this discussion about why people felt like it wasn't good to, like, the newsprint concept wasn't strong. Why do you think it's not strong? Do you think it's strong? And if you do, what are the problems with it? So I think I know what's going on, but I want to hear your perspective.
My perspective.
Well,
I think it's good. I think I'd like to see Stealing Solo after the successful campaign makes all its money. Have a cheap newsprint run where Jeff goes into his local gas station and say, "Oh, that's my book right there. Oh, how about that?" You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
And
but there are
you
some
know,
logistic issues, though, aren't there?
Somewhat.
yes, but we're selling it to kids. You're talking about the quality of the paper and all this kind of thing.
Well, that's what I was going to touch on. Some of the coloring and a lot of the comics, I don't think will be as productive. I was looking at one book, I forgot whose book it was, and it was I remember when I first saw the transition between the newsprint and the better quality paper. It was on Wildcats with
Okay.
Travis Chare's art, and at the time we weren't quite as advanced as we are now with computer coloring. Do you think we would have to create different type of stuff, or
I think it's irrelevant because it's for kids, and kids are not going to care that much. Maybe later, when they get more into the story, they might go into the Indiegogo. They might try to go to a local LCS and get that collectible edition that was on Indiegogo. Maybe they'll be on that next campaign because it's going to bring the old one and the new one. But
Do you-
to get the
Yeah,
hook
but
in,
I think the entire returnable newsprint market has to be just sort of a dumbed down version. I mean,
yep.
yeah, as artists, we're like, we want to see the best version of this art as possible. But you know what? We were freaking happy little campers buying these things at 7-Eleven with crappy newsprint, crappy printing and everything. It was about the story and it was about the fun, and it was about being able to, you know, plunk down a buck and get a candy bar, a Coke, and a freaking comic book, you know?
That's
Well,
the
the
hook.
only thing is nowadays with the internet and how cheap technology is, everyone can produce a professional product. And if you can't make it yourself, you can hire somebody. So I think if you put yourself out there to try to appeal to a young audience, but your book looks cheap, I think you'll hurt yourself in the long run. Because I mean,
Well,
like,
I think there's cheap and there's cheap. You know, you don't have to, as long as it has a good cover on it and it doesn't look like it's printed on toilet paper, you know.
Right. Well, I just did a review on my channel today of was it a Thor double size annual number 13, John Buscema's work.
Ooh,
And
my favorite.
it was gorgeous, but the I think it's almost like it demands a separate kind of coloring technique if you want to maintain that kind. I think maybe that's what you mean, Jeff. I don't think it doesn't have to look cheap as long as the art looks good. Is it a cheap thing because I think the coloring can affect it though. If it's not as appealing.
I just see it as
this
a
weird-
vehicle of marketing. That's how I see Alterna. I see it as a vehicle to market it to kids, and kids are not going to have that discerning, thing about it. Now, once a kid becomes like a discerning customer, a steady customer, that's going to change completely, right?
I don't think kids are going to read that many comics anymore. I think kids are going to be focused on digital stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe to appeal to that audience that you guys are talking about, you might want to just put it digitally for download on Comixology or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I don't think kids get into that too much, though.
Long term, you're right. But I still think if you can get comics back into the spontaneous buy areas of stores, and mothers are going to get them in the kids' hands, and then kids are going to start wanting to collect them because kids love collecting crap.
Yeah, and kids don't get Comixology.
When they were cheap and we got them at the newsstand, we didn't buy them and then crumple them up and throw them away because they were a quick read. We saved these things, even if they were bent up and crapped up and
I still have stuff from when I was a kid, even though the covers are hanging off or they're gone completely.
Yes. So you have to feed that mentality, and that's
that impulse buy next to the candy bars, between the candy bars and the sodas.
But so who's going to get it there? I mean, if I go to my local store, I don't see Archie anymore. I see maybe the Reader's Digest. What is that? The National Enquirer, a bunch of stuff. I don't even see. Maybe Walmart has those new big DC books that they're putting out.
Yeah.
That's where Alterna comes in.
That's the smartest move DC has made in a decade.
Well, have you guys seen what Marvel's doing at the local supermarkets? They're publishing their older stuff along with newer stuff in digest form through Archie. Archie's publishing their digests.
Are they really?
Yeah. They're already outsourcing?
I've seen it.
Marvel
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Marvel is dying.
Well, no, I mean, is it dying, or is that their version of trying to?
No, that's a good move.
Right. I
Well,
think it
okay,
is.
but okay, it's not that Marvel is dying. It's that the people that are in Marvel, they're not going to be able to keep up. They can only sell the old stuff. They can't do it from in-house anymore. And you know, the thing about that is, okay, you get your kid the comic book from the store. Okay, you got him the comic book, the cheap edition. But then you read it and you're like, oh my God, this is garbage. I can't let him read that.
Well, here's the problem. Not cheap. It's you know, the Archies aren't cheap either. They're like $6-7 now for the digest.
Okay, so how much is Alterna?
Well, I know, I get it. I'm just saying that it's a step in the right direction. I think from their perspective, I think that they're trying to. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like what CrossGen did back in the.
Because Alterna is like $2.
Yeah, but Marvel has, I hate to say it, but Marvel has the brand recognition. I think if people started seeing Spider-Man back in the checkout aisle, they're like, oh, I like Spider-Man. What's he up to these days? And there you go. And then I think like someone like Marvel needs to make that step, because then people get used to it. Like, for example, Coke did the 8-ounce bottles with 12-ounce bottles, and then Pepsi did, and then blah blah blah. So somebody's got to be, the bigger guys got to do it to make it the standard. I mean, I
can understand what that would be smart, but I don't want them to do it because I want them to be destroyed. I want them to burn.
Well, see, you can't do that, dude. If Marvel goes down, the entire industry goes down.
Right.
I don't think so. I don't believe that at all. I believe that they have become an evil company. I believe that they have forgone the customer completely. I think they've completely fallen into ideology, and they are a tool of ideology, and they are acting like a tool.
Well,
that's just the people who are in charge right now, man. At some point, they're gonna things have to change.
But where do those people go, Mike? Like after Marvel, the milkshake girls, where do they go? Do they go to
hopefully to the unemployment line? Hopefully they'll get married and have kids and realize what life is all about.
all I can hope is that they don't work for other entertainment brands, because this is permeating everything and it sucks.
It doesn't seem like they're slowing down. It seems like they're doubling down. I mean, they've gotten into wrestling. They've gotten into everything. I mean, they're just taking over, and they do not stop until they broke.
By the way, Mike, we had a super chat that had a question for you specifically. Green Adrenaline 6405 asks, how much longer till Lone Star campaign closes?
Probably a couple of weeks. I should be done by then, and then be able to set a print run. Although I might wait until the colors come in, the final colors. So I'm going to say at least 2 weeks, in case you're waiting for a paycheck.
I want to ask a question here. I'm seeing Jeremy here, but I'm not. I'm not hearing him. Are you there? Are you okay? How you been? Talk to me, buddy.
Hello. Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm here. I was just just waiting for a good point to jump in and start talking.
Sometimes you got to tackle it.
Just tell me to shut up.
That Minnesota nice thing. So.
Well, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I'm just like listening to everything going on right now, because like Jeff knows I love comics, and it's today was the nail in the coffin, man, with Frank Cho coming out.
Oh yeah, I was hearing about that.
Supported that guy since 2003, back when like Liberty Metals was on like spinner racks and nobody was buying it. I've got I've got art books. I've spent $150 on a damn Wonder Woman statue earlier this year, and he signed the base for me. And like, I was buying the variant covers for Harley Quinn just for his covers, and that was it. And today it's just like, you know what? Screw you, man.
No, those Wolverine books because of him. Savage Wolverine.
Yeah, Savage Wolverine. That too. I have that.
2 words.
I bought his Skyborn book that he put out. That's
2 words. Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, that's
Stockholm Syndrome. I believe some of these people feel trapped. They're in a hostage situation. They feel that they don't see a way out for themselves, and they're like, I'm gonna have to get in line or whatever. I don't, if these people were always good, well, sometimes you could just see the pattern. If these people were always kind of like, jerky, then they're pretty much gonna go down that line. But if the majority of people who have interacted with him say he's usually a nice guy, then he just got that Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I've heard one negative thing about him at a convention was somebody that was standing next to me, and I just brushed it off, just assuming that maybe Frank just had a bad day, or that guy was just an asshole and asked him a stupid question.
Have you talked to him, Mike? Have you had any interaction with him?
Whatever.
Ever? Yeah, like
Yeah.
just like a casually. Is he usually a nice guy, or is he
I mean, I wouldn't know him enough to say that, but I've never heard anything particularly bad about him. But the guy doesn't even know the name of it. He called it COMICSFENCE. This is,
I think,
making this out of ignorance. He's trusting things probably freaking Dave Johnson is telling him. He's believing things that a bunch of other social justice idiots are pumping into his head, because he clearly knows freaking nothing factual about it. And so, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. You get that a lot. A lot of these, I'm going to say most of the people who are anti-Comicsgate are just being reactionary go-alongs.
Yeah,
they're going along with their buddies who are just, infantile.
Can I jump in on that, Mike?
Yeah.
I was noticing that on his Instagram page. You had a lot of people that would just they said they weren't aware of Comicsgate, they didn't know what it was, but they did that like that cult like mentality where they just follow the leader without any research on their own,
like lemmings.
Yeah. But did you not see how many of the people on the Instagram were like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah, and I was one of them. I had like a conversation with one guy, just very politely telling him, I'm like, yeah, here's what you like, here's a link to, I gave him a link to some Leading Fool article about Comicsgate. And then I gave him a video that Weaponized Nerd Rage put out about Comicsgate. And the guy was, he said he'll look into it. The next thing I know, like this guy's like checking out my Instagram page, and I hope I got through to him. I was polite with them. And then I had I had like normal conversations with people in that conversation. So
if I could give it an elevator pitch of the Phantom Menace and Comicsgate, I would say it's a consumer revolt against bad quality and bad customer service. Among the revolted, there are creators that are trying to give quality product and good customer service.
Yeah.
That's how I would sum it up. That's all it is. Now, these powerful industries that are the one that are revolting people, because I find them, they're just revulsive. I can't even deal with the way they treat people, right? They are doubling down on just calling us names and lying, right? But if I was going to sum it up, I would sum it up like that. It's a consumer revolt against bad quality and bad customer service.
Bad practice.
Yep.
That's one of the reasons why I feel like, and I, when sometimes I feel like this type of conversation can be a little harmful to that, because I think this is, and I don't want to come across too soft on any of this, but I really do feel sometimes like we are doing ourselves a disservice when we're trying to explain these things, but at the same time we're so combative. I think if one of the things I think we can do better as far as communicating the idea is to just to try to rise above it. I realize that some of you guys have a bigger, a stake in the game, right? Or dog in the fight. You guys like Mike, I know you've had some real personal situations,
Yeah.
but the rest of us who haven't really had that kind of level of fighting in it, we should really strive to try to like just communicate as clearly and cleanly as possible that it is just a consumer revolt. I think that's,
you're right. I get very happy when I see somebody come on Twitter with this false assumption, and then we show them, like, the majority of creators, and I think it's a pretty decent majority of the creators in Comicsgate are minorities and women, et cetera, et cetera. And when they just see that and they're like, but I thought it was alt-right white supremacist movement, and it's like, it's so easy to move the needle because they've been told a lie that is so grandiose and ridiculous that just showing them who's actually in it oftentimes is enough to melt away that facade.
Oh
Well,
yeah, just a surface level inquiry into it. Just Googling it, like, you know, both sides will show like, okay, some of these things are just absolutely lies, and the rest of it is just an exaggeration of the problem.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Frank Cho, some of the people that he trusts are idiots and liars. So.
I kind of thought it was a white supremacist movement, but the women and minorities just took it over from us.
You're welcome.
I just think that it's like anything else. You know, I like when this is. Gosh, I hate to say it this way, but it's not too. The philosophy that I try to employ is not that different from what Martin Luther King espoused about a peaceful protest. And I think we can try to, I think when we're more intellectual about it and we're discussing in these terms, there's one thing to discuss about the craziness that's going on in the business, but sometimes we get too personal, or we take it too personal. Because look, at the end of the day, let's face it, these guys, this is their livelihood, right? This is why they are fighting for it. They need it to stay this way. The Frank Cho's and the Dave Johnsons, whoever, I don't know him very personally at all, but you know, they have a vested interest in this thing staying this way. You know, I wonder if that's something that we ever consider, because the reality is they're really afraid. I think that's really what it is.
I don't.
They
no,
can come over.
I think they haven't. Well, not Frank. I think Frank is doing this completely out of ignorance. But someone like Dave Johnson, he would be doing it out of an ideological necessity, not over a financial one, because he'll get hired regardless. And he'd probably do the work regardless. He's, you know.
Fair enough.
But for some of us, we've been blacklisted because of our politics. And that sort of blacklisting is a one-way street. Mark Wade has said things far more egregious than anyone on the left. And who's not going to hire Mark Wade? Freaking Marvel is still hiring Mark Wade.
Right.
Can I just talk a second about Pope Pius the Thick-Skinned? Okay, now EVS, right, is the father of Polish, Italian, and Jewish children labeled a Nazi. This is ludicrous. Okay, the things that they're saying about him are just absolutely wrong. They're lies, right? And they're slander. They're literally slandering him so that he becomes unhireable anywhere, so that he cannot eat, so that he cannot pay his mortgage, so that he cannot feed his family. And I think it's outrageous. And I understand that you guys want to be professional, but sometimes we just get really, really angry about this stuff.
Yeah, but Sketch,
I got freaking blacklisted from DC in 2000, and I haven't been able to get work at Marvel except for because George R.R. Martin made them hire me since that time either. Don't give me that.
I'm new here. I didn't know. I was angry as soon as they started attacking you, and you know I was the first one to just bite down.
No, but I'm saying, I mean, I don't have to take that anger. I'm just mad that you're. All right, I'm not mad. I'm cool. I'm just like that doesn't require me to freaking go.
It makes me mad. It makes me mad. It makes me mad
say.
when they go after you guys because they're lying, and it makes me mad.
I know. I've been lied about
try
for
to
20
cool
years.
down.
I've been lied about freaking nonstop. They're trying to call me a freaking racist because I said some guy in Nigeria probably didn't know his dad.
Well, that happens everywhere in America.
And they keep spreading this one around. Dude, they're going to lie about all of us. That's just what they do because they're freaking liars.
But I'm only human.
And those people, you brush those people off your freaking shoe and you try to work with the people who you know can be reasonable.
Okay, I've been listening to you, Mike. I've been listening to Edwin. I've been trying to be more calm about this. You guys probably notice. They call me Hot Rod, okay? They call me Hot Rod because I get a little hot. I get a little hot on the call. They start talking the stuff that's just, donkey stuff, and I get a little hot on the call. I've been trying to calm down. I've been trying to be more about bringing people together, about telling all the people out there to buy Stealing Solo, to back the Patreon, to get in there, get into this content, because you're watching this more than you're watching Netflix and Hulu. Let's just be honest. I mean, you got to back these Patreons, you got to back these books, just because tip your server. I mean, yes, you want the book, yes, you want to be a part of it, and that's why you get in it. But you're also consuming. This is a lot of content that's getting put out there every day. And it takes work. It takes hard work. I mean, Jeff is out here every morning looking at those stories for you, giving you an honest review, an honest take on what's going on. So does Mike on the Aloha Hour. Elliot is sitting down patiently, just going over these techniques and talking to you and taking your questions on his on his show. And these things have value. I value them, and I think you guys should value them too. So you should definitely check out Lone Star. Check out Stealing Solo. Check out Black and Red. It's just beautiful work by great people that they're in your corner. They respect you, and they also respect Wyman, but they respect you. They respect everyone, and that's the point.
Well, let's see. Speaking of respect, let's respect our friend Fire in a super chat that says, easy equation. Don't care about any of your politics, beliefs, sexual preferences, etc. Are you a good person, entertaining, talented? Yes, you get my support. Are you a douche, untalented? No money's for you.
There you go.
Good way to look at it.
Amen.
Agreed.
Vote with your dollars. Vote with your dollars.
The funny thing about the whole situation, though, is for the anti-comic skaters, I'm using quotations here, they're just kind of drawing attention to the people they dislike and making them more successful.
Yep. Hitch plows. They hitch plows to them. They're like.
That's why I'm saying we have an opportunity to present ourselves in a better than that. When they're already coming over here to gig us. They want us to fail. They want us to look crazy. I suggest don't. Yeah. Let their arguments fall on deaf ears. When they come over here, they should be like, oh man, they're nothing like I thought they were.
Yeah, they come over here expecting an explosion, and then they get a carnival or something. They get something entertaining.
Right.
They're also freer here. I can almost bet dollars to donuts, that these people are more free, they're great. That these people they have more freedom in our chats than they do among their peers if they are, of a certain leaning. They can't even speak out loud as freely as they can speak in our chat.
Hey, Mike.
I disagree.
So I'm noticing it with Elliot here, but that really turned us on the other night when we saw that you put quarters or pennies onto your rulers and such. I did that with both my triangles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's I love it.
It's a big spender. He's using dimes.
Nice.
You know why? Because they're just thin enough that they're not right. Oh, I probably shouldn't use them anyway, but
what did they add?
Yeah,
just extra weight.
No, they add a height. The trick to this is that if you, oh man, I think I messed up.
It doesn't absorb the ink when.
Oh, okay, yeah, no smearing.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
Right.
If you're using a marker or a quill or something that has enough ink, the ink will suck up. Like you ever tried to glue two pieces of plastic together and the glue just sucks up between the plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what'll happen with your ink if your straight edge or your French curve is flush against the surface.
Oh. Yeah, it's like when you paint and you put the masking tape on the paint, and then you try to pull it off too soon. It just kind of gets all feathery. It's the same concept.
Yeah, like the Repetograph pens, they really like to get in between the rulers.
I'm not a really good artist. I do a little bit of fan art, but I go full digital. I mean, just full digital. I bought that Clip Studio. I got kind of the monthly service on the iPad, and I'm testing it out on the computer.
Sorry.
But I really want a Cintiq, man. Those Cintiq, they look so pretty, man.
I want
one
too.
Oh my god. You want one too,
Intuos.
right?
I just have the old I'll say what?
Are you more into digital?
I only draw digitally.
Oh man, they look so beautiful. Mitch Breitweiser, he has a huge one in his office. I'm always yo, show it off. Give me a tour. Let me see you draw
that thing. $3,000, depending on which one you get.
I know, but it's like looking at a Ferrari. You're like, oh, I really like one.
You know, there's some really good alternatives out there. You don't have to see. This is what it's all about. we're the alternative to the big two, and then there are alternatives to Wacom. There's a lot of good ones out there. Check out some decent reviews, and you'll see Huion makes some nice product. There are some cons, but I think it's worth it if you're trying to save money.
Well, I have the old Wacom Cintiq, or no, Intuos 5 from 2012, so mine doesn't even have a screen on it. But I did buy the large one, and I've used it for years. I used to not be comfortable with it, so I would draw on paper, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to ink on this thing." And then one day I just sat down and got used to the learning curve, and now it's all I like to do.
Yeah. It's almost like when you're playing video games, is that hand-eye coordination. That's all it is.
Well, for me, it was the iPad Pro, right? I used to finger draw on iPad, and I'm like, I really like these. Like I said, I'm not like idolatrous about the companies, right? For mobile, I like Apple. For computers, I like PC. So I got, and I really liked it. And then I got this iPad Pro with the little pencil, because it's cheap if you got the Sprint. If you already got the Sprint, then it's just like it's like an added device, and it has insurance, right? So it's not like I spend $1,000 or $500 or $600 and it broke and I'm screwed, right? If anything happens to it, I pay like $50 or $100 and I get a new one. So because it has that warranty, because it has its own internet and all these things, and I'm paying it, not at all at once, I kind of got used to like drawing on the image itself, right? Just because of this whole phone package deal. And I think it's great, but I kind of want the power of full apps, right? Like the full Clip Studio, the full Sketchbook Pro, the full Photoshop, especially Photoshop. You can't run that on an iPad. You just can't do it.
Well, what you could do is get yourself, if you're going to do it on a computer, go around Christmas, because Clip Studio goes on sale every Christmas, or at least it has for the last couple Christmases. We're talking like $70 for the whole suite.
Yeah, that's how I got mine.
That sounds awesome.
And I bought Manga Studio Pro, which was Clip Studio before it was called Clip Studio. So I'm running an older one, but it's still got, all the same stuff, and I got customizable brushes. So I'm kind of...
Well, the thing I like the most is how it collects the comic panels and how it has different options for the pages, and it kind of collects it all together and different from Sketchbook Pro, which is the one program I'm most used to. I'm kind of getting the hang of Clip Studio, but I don't know where all the tools are. I don't know how to set up the pages. It's still all a little closer to Photoshop, and I'm not that experienced in Photoshop, so I'm kind of getting the hang of it. But I'm starting to experiment with it, and I kind of like it.
You should watch a channel it's just called Robert Marzullo. He does a lot of digital artwork, and he tells you, he like walks you through the steps. Like a lot of people out there, if you're ever considering doing comics and you got the money, I mean, digital can really help you save a lot of time and help you with stuff. There's all kinds of tools and tricks, and some people don't like to talk about this, but sometimes these, you don't get much money for these jobs, and you need to be able to pump out as much stuff as possible and move on to the next one to make ends meet. So sometimes doing digital, if you have consistent work, if you can pump out the pages quicker, that's my advice. Because like when I was doing my paid gigs, I was doing it all digitally and was able to pump out a lot of stuff and get paid.
All my commercial work is digital. When I do commissions, of course, they're traditional. And then I think what I'm planning on doing for my particular book is to produce I got this idea from Kane White. I'm going to produce most of it digital, and then the specific like key pages, I'll do those traditional.
Oh, and then be able to sell them later down the road.
Yeah. Because that mark is still important to me.
I wish I had that opportunity for this comic, but I don't, so that's okay. I'd rather get it done and be able to offer more stuff, because I have to run this channel as I'm doing the book too, so it's kind of like I need as much help as possible. And that's why I've also paid people to color it and do the lettering and stuff, so I can get the best product out there as quick as possible.
Well, I see all of you as different companies in a conglomerate, and I hope you guys, really coordinate that and gather all your resources and that power that you have all together when it comes to printing and shipping and all these different situations that you're going to have to face, because you can learn a lot from each other, and you're facing some very, very big challenges, some very crazy challenges. So, just as a customer, I want y'all to last and survive and have more issues and different kinds of of product out there. Each one of your brains is not only a universe, it's more than one universe, right? So that's the way I see it. I mean, you have your Stealing Solo universe, but you might have other comic book hero universes in there in that head of yours, right? And you might want to get those out there. And I just want you to take advantage of the conglomerate that you guys have kind of built here, where you each have your individual intellectual property, but you're also part of a group that can help each other and, maybe negotiate together for certain breaks,
Dude, I've already got a 20-page email ready to send to Mike Miller. Already. Just waiting to hit send.
Hit it.
And now I'm going to attach Jeff on there. We're going to all talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, hey. You guys talk. No, talk. I completely support that. I mean, I'm not the only one. I bet a lot of people in the chat want to see you succeed and want to see you, just last. I want this to keep going.
That's how you can shoot down all this negative talk about the fans of Menace or Comics Gate or all that stuff. Is you look at the community that surrounds it. They're all a bunch of good people that love the stuff we do. They're all good people from every walk of life. I mean, if you would listen to the narrative spewed by Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams about people that dislike The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens, they're just angry white guys. Well, come to a convention where we are and you'll meet people, different colors, different creeds, all this stuff that dislike your movie. I mean, you guys, all these companies hide behind excuses. Marvel hides behind them. Disney hides behind them in general. Yeah. It's just, you can't keep pushing this bullshit narrative when we can keep showing you every day people from every walk of life or, gender orientation or whatever you're into, dislike your shit. So just own up to this stuff. Admit you've made a mistake and stop blaming, a specific group.
Amen.
It just comes off as bad. It's in bad taste. And they're going to be they always talk about, the wrong side of history. Well, your guys are just making a mistake that you're going to regret soon, because eventually when the audience that you chase, you realize they don't exist. Well, then you're going to go, please come back and buy our books. Please do this. Please do that. And, like they say in Watchmen, I'll look down and I'll say no. All this bullshit's frothed up at their hips.
My thing is, what they're going to do first is they're going to blame us. They're going to say, it was because of you guys, which is crazy.
They already did that.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's in Jeff, like you said, they're chasing that audience that isn't there, and they're going to be coming back to the people that helped get them to the dance. Well, I'm done with Star Wars, man. Last Jedi broke me, and because of that, I found you guys, and because that, I'm part of the Patreon. I'm paying you guys every month because I find your entertainment a lot more entertaining than anything like anybody's putting out right now.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Even besides the Patreon, you drove 9 hours to come hang out with us because you like what we do. I mean, that meant a lot. I wish I was telling the guys before you came on, I wish we could have had space for you to stay in the room. It was the fact that you drove up there to hang out with us was insane.
Man, it meant a lot. It's been a while since I've been part of a online community, and I wanted that to get out of the house, and it's you guys are just awesome, man. The first person I saw was Dion. It's dude was the I don't know, most huggable guy I've met.
Now you know why we're best friends, man. But I mean, when you met us, it was like we were on the show, which is how we are in real life. We're just a group of guys that like to talk about entertainment. Maybe we don't fall in line with the mainstream stuff, but that's the power of the internet, the power of social media, and I think that's what they fear, because technology's reached a point where everyone has the ability to reach anyone with the with the right voice. The technology exists.
You got a big super chat there.
Holy shit! All right, let me read these three. So first off, Great Loner, this one's to you, Mike. Says, Mike, let us be your mantle of anger. Then our friend Tim Riggs, another man who drove all the way to meet us at Horror Hound, thank you, Tim Riggs, says, truest fans are usually the harshest legit critics, which he makes a valid point. I mean, for me in Star Wars, I don't say the stuff I say because it's funny and trendy. I say it because I feel it.
Right.
Yep.
And when people were kissing The Force Awakens ass, I was like, wake up. And then, it took The Last Jedi for them to wake up.
Yeah, we might have soured, Mike and Jeremy on Force Awakens and Last Jedi, but it's for a better good. It's gonna get better, but we have to be honest about it for it to get better.
Well, I mean, I hold everything that I like to high standards, and I don't do it because I'm some crotchety old dude. It's like we've had really good interpretations of this. We've had great comics. Like in my lifetime alone, I'm 29. I've read great comics that have been printed in the last 15 or 20 years. It's out there. There are people that can do it. It's just they choose not to. They choose to go for. They're making bad business moves at every turn, and I don't know. I feel like it's my reason to say what I say to try to get them to go back to it.
Let me bring this back though. For me,
Walk it back.
I love the Timothy Zahn books, right?
Oh yeah.
But I read the Kevin J. Anderson books because they were Star Wars. They weren't as good as the Zahn books. I mean, honestly.
Don't you think they should have gone with that?
I don't know. That whole Star Killer would have been really anticlimactic.
Yeah. Look,
Just-
I
like
was with Jeremy.
Pod racer.
I thought
I'm gonna use a pod racer to blow up a planet. It's like
no, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
But I was with Jeremy. I thought The Force Awakens was great, and then I started like revisiting it, and I just went through all the stages of acceptance that Jeremy had. Not to Jeremy here, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers had to go through on that rewatch. You remember that?
Yeah, well, the thing is, guys, I mean, it's like they deceived you.
Yep.
Because I've watched Star Wars more than most people have, and like a stupid amount too. Like, yeah, people could have grown up with the movies. Oh, we watched it a bunch as a kid on tape. I used to like watch it, rewind it, watch it, rewind it. I know that shit. The first one, I know Empire and Jedi, but I know that first one to like ridiculous lengths. And when I watched it, I'm like, this is this is that. And if you paid attention to the market, I mean, I went to college for advertising and communication, and the stuff they didn't sell you the movie on. The next chapter in the Star Wars saga, they sold you practical effects. They used the exact lenses, this, that, and the other. I mean, it was from the beginning. It was all part of the plan. Now, thankfully, people have woken up quickly, and hopefully, with this next one, they're not going to try Return of the Jedi Part 2.
No, but I was also drinking that Collider Kool-Aid, that Screen Junkies Kool-Aid. I was up there in their Jonestown. I was drinking the Kool-Aid with them, and then I come to Last Jedi, and it just shocked my system.
But look at
and then I went back and looked, and I'm like, oh my god, there is a lot of truth to the critique of this thing.
But look at the collusion and stuff that you see when you pay attention to the way these movies are reviewed and the way there's a narrative. Like, even outside of COMICSGate, look with the Star Wars thing. You have the Collider crew and your Screen Junkies and all these people that want to make it in Hollywood. They want the perks. They want to be, the John Campias. And it's kind of exposed how they rate these movies.
But it wasn't always so. They used to call garbage. I remember those times.
But they were bought by Disney. Dude, they were bought by Disney. This was Disney's biggest investment. Yeah, they bought Marvel, but Marvel didn't have the market share or the brand value that Star Wars did. So this was the big thing. They bought, the golden calf, Star Wars. It was independent.
Oh my god, I hate them now. It's like like when you have this girl that you love, but she cheated on you. You're like, I don't even want to look at her anymore. I mean, not that that's happened. Well, maybe it did. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been with anybody. But what I'm saying is, the thing is, when you have this friendship, when you have this kinship, right, and you think you're being treated a certain way, and all of a sudden everything changes, and all of a sudden you're a outcast, you're unperson. That's the reason I have like 50 accounts, because I couldn't figure out why they kept muting me, and it's just for having an opinion, because everything changed. It wasn't like that before. It was just not like that before, and I'm glad I found you guys, because it was my therapy. I had two therapies, art and movies. And I feel like one was pulled from under me. I couldn't talk with it. I had friends on the chat. I couldn't talk to them anymore. I had to come in as different people and pretend to be someone else. I couldn't be myself. And I got sick of it. I want to be myself. And here I can be myself. And that's why you should donate to the Patreon, because here you could be yourself. Get that Stealing Solo. Get on that Patreon. Get with these people, because they will let you be yourself and they will treat you right.
Well, speaking of treating right, let me give the proper respect to Illumina. Sent in a $50 super chat. Thank you very much. Love you guys. Looking at comics and games you see nowadays, SJWs don't really care for anything. They practically are brain dead. They will not accept the reality of what they do to ruin everything they touch. You're parasites. They're parasites, and that was one of two. Let me make sure that. Let me look for the other part of the message. Let's see. I'm looking. Lumina. Sorry, folks. I don't think they've sent in part 2 yet, have they? Yeah, I think so. Not yet. Okay, Lumina, just at me so I can read that for you. While we're waiting for part 2. Oh, there. Wow. Holy shit. Thank you, Lumina. Dayton Pfeiffer, thank you very much. Sent in a super chat that says, "That's some great artwork, Elliot."
Thank you very much. Thank you
And
very
then
much.
Illumina sent in another $50. Wow. Thank you. And then they go on to say, and Spec Ops The Line is a great game that reminds me of this every time. People deny to the bitter end, blaming everyone for their actions but refusing responsibility for their own. And people are sick of the bullshit. Keep up the good work. Well, Lumina, thank you very much. Really, thank you very much. I appreciate that. What do you guys have to say about this? I feel like that's a big problem that we cover and you guys cover in Comicsgate and stuff like that, and the mainstream just refuses to accept it.
That's what I've said before. The movie gate and the gamer gate and the comics gate are just like, three streams that are showing you the one problem. These big SJW marshmallows. You need to cross the streams like the Ghostbusters did and just, annihilate their buffoonery. And I'm gonna check out that game out of respect for those super chats. What was it, Spec Ops?
Yeah, the Spec Ops The Line. Let me see what that is.
I'm gonna check that game out because it went all out. I gotta check that out.
Let's see what system it's for. Just so it's for PS3. Okay. Excuse me. I have a PS3. I should check that out.
Well,
you can get it for a whopping 99 cents.
I kind of always go back to the same thing. Is I don't think they do all the brain dead stuff they do out of animosity. I think they do it out of a skewed perception that anyone who's a reasonable, logical, caring person will agree with them, and anyone who doesn't agree with them is therefore nefarious, crazy, or stupid. So they come to this conclusion that everything they're going to do is the way the real world should work. So they're just incapable of seeing that there are two sides to this argument or two sides to any argument. And so, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That they don't see it, and so they're not doing it to be. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think some of them have a good heart. Okay, I was on the left. I was.
What's the road to hell paved with?
Good intentions. I understand the perspective because I was a little bit left. I came to center. I was never full right? Even when I was in the army, I was just protecting these very basic trinity of human rights in America. That freedom of speech, right to self-defense, and right to own property. These are human rights. And it's not just about America or politics or anything like that. Because of that base center that both sides used to hold sacred, and we could have this discussion. But I understand that people are against victimless crimes. I understand that people are sick of war. I can understand it. I can understand why some of those people say, well, if you believe in anything close to that, you must be evil. But you got to have a little critical thinking and understand that we're all human, and maybe, both sides have good intentions and they can reach some kind of, understanding if they could just open up their eyes and hearts and ears and just talk to each other and see each other as human.
Well said. Tim Riggs sent in another super chat, says, I would love to see comic gators get a gab.ai. Would help the only Twitter competition grow. Can pretty easily cross post between the two, and fuck Twitter.
I should probably stay off Twitter. This is my 38th account. They've suspended the other 37. All right. I'm not gonna get into why. But I do see it. I do rage out. I mean, I'm calm here. You hear me? I'm kind of calm. I'm kind of cool. You know why? I got all that frustration out of my system on Twitter.
I used to use video games for that. When I would get stressed out and angry, I just boot up.
I'm gonna do more of the sketch therapy. I'm gonna try to stay away from the Twitters because I'm gonna try to take Mike Miller's advice and Edwin Boyette's advice. Also a great channel. and try to cool down a little bit more, because I want to be more about bringing us together. And that's what I'm all about.
Oh yeah, that's like I said earlier, man. That's the one thing they can't take away from us. We're just a good community. We're built on respect. I mean, go read the chats in the comments section on these videos. It's people being cool to each other, people making friends. There was a dude over on our Facebook page that says, "Hey, do you guys want to get together and watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, even if it's not world class bullshitters?" I was like, "That's cool that people are taking the initiative to go out and make friends and stuff based off this community." Marvel and DC, I'm reading the comments on Frank Cho's Facebook post, and people are tearing each other apart. So, there's no unity in that camp.
It's absolutely true.
So, do you guys have anything you'd like to say? Because it's midnight, and I gotta get up. Oh, hold on, Klaus Stork sent in a super chat. Thank you, Klaus Stork.
Over here.
Oh, yeah, Mister. I'm in another time zone. I've been up since the crack of dawn. I had to work on that Star Wars video this morning, dude. The toy one I put out. I filmed that over the weekend. So, Klaus Stork says, Blacklist Rita is attacking Angel Grove. Gather the Rangers before it's too late. Sorry, had to do that. The tank top reminds me of Jason. Oh my god, I miss Power Rangers so much. Well, I never stopped loving them. I just kind of stopped watching the new stuff. But yeah, man,
they had a good comic book run. I mean, like good stories, good art, and that's. I think that's what the Hasbro call was about, if I'm not mistaken, with that Umbrella guy. I think am I right about this, Mike? Do you remember this?
No.
Well, maybe when you go on that Umbrella guy, Jeff, like I said, there's a lot of shows, there's got a lot of audiences, and these people all buy Indiegogo, so you should definitely make the rounds.
I'd want to. It's the final month of this campaign. I'm in the zone where I want to go as many places. I just, I was learning.
Well, these people love more art, so the more art you pump out, the better. I mean, I understand maybe the colors you can work that as fast as you can. Sometimes it's good to, work with more than one colorist and they look just for campaign, do this for me or whatever. But pump out as much art as you want, because these people will want to see a lot of art. That's one thing they're going to love.
Well, I'll tell you guys this on air. This isn't secret, but Mike, everybody knows this at Trolls. You put your thumbnails together. So I put the thumbnails together, and I'm trying to produce the pages that would, like it's like a movie trailer. You don't like when they show the movie trailer for Star Wars. You don't show the part where Luke's just walking and talking to Aunt Beru. You show the gun battles on the Death Star, the spaceship battles and stuff. So for me, I'm trying to make sure that I have, the best thumbnails done for me, but then I also want to complete those pages and show people like this is what this is going to look like, this is what you're going to get. So that's why it seems a little slow on my end, because I got so much of it done. I just want to make sure it's the big.
I'm not critiquing it. You're a far better artist than I am.
I'm not taking it as a bad critique. I'm with you 100%, but it just takes time to get this done and the channel and all this other stuff. So believe me, I'd love to have 10 pages done, but guys, check it out, this is the story. But the first couple pages are it's the story build. So then when the crazy shit happens, I'm all about telling a good story. And I'm not shooting my own horn, but I do know how to tell a good story through the narrative structure. And if you start out and you build to the end, well then the joke works. If you start out with something dumb and then people aren't hooked, it's like, why am I reading this whole 32? Maybe the thing is with me, the story may be longer, so people may be getting more comic book, and I don't even know it yet. So it's evolving. I'm always trying to do. I'm just excited to do this. That's all I can say, man. Like when I sit down to do the pages, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm having the best time of my life.
I've been excited for you doing this for a long time. How long have I been coming on these streams?
You're one of the reasons I did this, because you're like, dude, you got to do this. You got the audience. You got to tell your stories. And I was like, man, I listened to you talk. You got me all pumped up. I was like, I can fucking do this. So.
Oh, but I was right. Was I not right? I was right. I was right. You're gonna make that money, and you're gonna show these people that being good leads to good economically, good, spiritual. I bet you're feeling good too, right? I mean, you tried to be, with this channel for a long time. And now that you're seeing all that time you invested is paying off, and all the honesty and there's kind of a bravery to it, to being honest in your reviews and just you're speaking your mind. You're seeing it all pay off. I bet you're feeling good, and that's what I've always wanted for you guys: to make your money, feel good, and don't let these people get to you.
Well, the thing is, I take the fucking approach, man. I have to be true to the people that are fans of this channel. You, Jeremy, everybody out there that support us. I don't really worry if these big companies like what we say. I'm not trying to get a job at Collider. I'm not trying to go to Hollywood and get coffee for Ryan Reynolds or something like that. No, I'm doing my own thing, and as long as I'm true to the people that listen to this channel, I think I'll be completely fine. So, and to anyone out there that ever wants to do YouTube, make sure you pay attention to the guys like, the Mundane Mats and all those people to see how you can fall from grace by being underhanded and being whatever. Make sure you watch both sides of it. Watch the good side and the bad side so you don't replicate those mistakes.
Hey, Sketch.
What's up?
You are like the best hype man since Flavor Flav.
Oh yeah. I'm about selling it. I mean, I want to see you guys succeed. I had these physical weapons. I fixed tanks. I had an M16A2. I know about physical weapons. Spiritual weapons, images, and words, they're stronger. Yes, we need the tanks. Yes, we need to have that power to defend ourselves. But the spiritual weapons, the images, the words that hit your core, that hit your moral and your value, and they tell that story. You know how Plato got us out of Plato's cave? He didn't point a finger and said this and that. He used a story. And that's how we're pulling them out of the cave, showing them the light. You are free. You need to know it. And then these spiritual weapons, they're important. They're powerful. And I support 100% on the Indiegogo and on the Patreon. So you guys get on that. $1 goes a long way. $5 is only 17 cents a day.
And like going to stories, I love my comic books, and I view that as like modern mythology, and it's not there anymore.
No, not at all.
It's like I don't have anybody to like. There's nobody to aspire to. I don't think Superman. Well, he did the last run they did of him, but you go to the Marvel side and it's like heroes are fighting heroes, and your bad guys are being treated as jokes.
Yeah.
Like look at the Deadpool 2 movie and how they treated Juggernaut near the end of the movie. Like to me as a comic fan, like that was disrespectful towards that character.
Dude, I feel the same way, I guess, because Marvel thinks they can make more money with, oh my God, the Avengers are fighting the X-Men. The X-Men are fighting the Inhumans, blah, 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 blah. I'm with you, man. Modern day myth is important. Joseph Campbell had it right. Star Wars got it right. Maybe all I got to do is go study Joseph Campbell and create the next modern day myth and really hook people. And then there you go. I got the next Star Wars. It's not about spaceships and this. It's about, the deeper stuff that hits us on a level, resonates with you, and you don't even know it resonates with you. Maybe that's, what they're missing out because they don't want to do it. I mean, I tried to talk to the guy from Midnight's Edge, and we were going to have a discussion about the hero's journey, and he thinks it doesn't matter anymore, and I think it does. And it never happened, but that was what was going to go down that path. So I kind of want to have these discussions.
They kind of walked back a couple of the things they said. I mean, the importance of James Gunn, they've walked it back. They're like, what, the Taika Waititi could probably do it. I think they become more reasonable. I saw them, show some love in the chats the other time when I was on here. And I hope that discussion is had because, having these discussions, it's just good to have the discussion, to be able to talk to yourself despite coming from different points of view. I think it's very important.
Yeah. Well, there's no. Oh, good, Mike.
The tagline of my universe, Blacklist Universe, is "You'll believe in heroes again," because I think we have lost that in so much of media and so much of comics in particular. And that's why I kind of I have a whole bunch of different properties that I have developed over the past quarter century. But I wanted to do something specific with Lone Star. So I actually created a newer character when I went to do my first book. And I cobbled together some of the other stories that I had, and I sacrificed them to the greater story that is Lone Star. But yeah, it's what you're talking about, that hero's journey, that
I'm also looking forward to Godsword and the Nuclear Family.
Yeah. But
and I'm also looking forward to Jeff's Ashcan, because I believe there's some other work you had developed in there. You were speaking on this.
Oh yeah, the anthology book. You'll love that one because a couple
Wow.
of years ago, right when I got out of college, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? I want to be a comic book artist, so I'm going to do this. So I wrote the story, and it's like, because I love EC Comics, so there are three, semi-political stories. One's about a senator that tries to push for a law that ends up biting him in the ass. The other one's about a group of people who are coming back from their high school reunion and they come across something they're not supposed to come across. And then the third one is a story a story like you've never read before. It's really fucked up and weird, and the ending, the twist ending will hook you. And I even have another issue planned, but because I didn't have the funding or anything to do with anthology, I just it's not there. So when this reaches its stretch goal, you get the ash can, and hopefully it reaches the big stretch goal, because I will put the money out to have it recolored and lettered. And if anthology is what people want, well, then we'll turn it into a series. We'll see where these stories go. So I have a lot to say, more than just stuff about Star Wars. Some stuff is political. Some stuff is, philosophical. I got stuff to talk about and all kinds of subject matter. And I want to use comics for now to, get it out there. It's a vehicle that I think everyone here respects, especially everyone here on the panel tonight, but everyone out there listening, they definitely respect comic books.
Well,
I believe
comics are like the seed corn for the whole media conglomeration going on nowadays. I mean, it's been 15, 20 years. Almost not every, but most of the biggest blockbusters in media have been comic book related, and it's all, granted, most of it's based on stuff from the 80s, but there's going to be I feel like we're going to be in an ebb where it's time to rebuild and create new properties that, in another 5, 10, 15 years are going to be farmed for the next wave of media. And that's why they're so scared of us producing stuff that isn't. That's why they want that control, so that they can force that SJW narrative into the culture and shape the future to their own ends.
It's not going to work, man.
They fear your IP farm. They fear the properties you might create. A Gamergate couldn't make games, but COMICSGate can make comics.
Yeah. They don't want heroes again. They don't want us to believe in heroes again. That's the problem.
Yep.
They're afraid, man. I mean, their influx of social justice stuff into society just won't work. People will. Social media doesn't represent the real world. That's not.
They'd rather have us. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
I'm saying, like, they would rather have us like look up to celebrities and just people that are just not, I don't know, really influential or somebody that you want to aspire to be.
Yeah, but that makes no sense, because if these people really wanted what they say, they'd just do it, because this is America. You can pool and split your resources however you want. No one is stopping them. They just want more power.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Let's see. We got 3 super chats to read, and then I'm going to close the stream out because it's 12:16. So first off, thanks to everyone who's stuck with us the whole time. So the Rookie Critic says, Jeff the Iron Wolf and I did a stream. The little channel's growing upwards. If you joined, it would be a Triple Jeff live stream. LOL, hell Jeffs, we love you. Well, the Rookie Critic, I know I'm busy. A lot of you guys know I'm really busy right now, but keep an open invite, and when I have some free time, I'd love to come to another channel. I went to another channel once called the Deplorable Bat Cave. It's funny, for all the growth we've had on this channel, I've only been on Ethan's channel, Jeremy's channel, and then I was invited to Deplorable Bat Cave. So I haven't been on a lot of other live streams. I'd love to show up on other channels, but just got to invite me.
I'd love to see it. You know me, I'm all about crossing the streams. That's always, like, since the very beginning, I've said it. Since the very beginning, I said 2 things. You got to get your comic out. Yeah. And we got to cross the streams. That's like my main 2 things always.
I play well with others, man. I'm definitely down to go, wherever I'm welcome.
You're always welcome with me, brother.
Oh, shit. I definitely want to actually learn a couple things from you. I like
to learn some stuff from you, too.
He's a good mentor. He likes mentoring.
We'll talk art. I want to do an art stream soon. So I'm trying to you get the channel and widen it.
We do on my channel on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. We just did the first one last week. It's called Drawn and Quartered, where we come on, a bunch of different artists come on, and we allow the chat to select a character that we're all going to draw, and then we all draw it for 2 hours, and at the end, the chat picks whichever one they like best, and then we pick somebody out of the chat to win like a free print of the winner.
The first one, Gary won it, right?
Gary won it last week. Yep. I'm gonna win this week though.
I tried, man. I really tried.
Yours was good. They were all
Try
good,
harder.
man. I
just
can't draw
failed.
that fast. I'm a little slower than y'all, but it was wonderful. I like
Well,
it.
here's a link to
Jeff,
Mike's
if you want to
channel
come
right there.
on tomorrow, 7:00 Pacific time.
I'll be in the High Council, dude.
Well, then never mind.
I will be on Mike.
Yeah, that timing, it's a little conflicting, the timing, but
Well,
We-
there's the Star Wars fans, and then there's there's crossover, but
there is. I
gotta
mean,
have more
sometimes
than
I
one
watch.
channel at a time.
If I could clone myself, I'd show up everywhere. No, it's cool. It sounds stupid to say this, but like I'm glad I'm so busy because it means what I'm doing is working. So
Yeah.
I don't mind being spread thin. It's okay. When I had 20 hours a day to draw, I wasn't doing shit with my life. Now that I'm trying to make time for it, I got 1,000,001 places I need to be. Our friend Anthony Mata says, "Hi Jeff, did you write the script for Stealing Solo or draw what comes to mind?" Ugh, sorry, I'm tired. No, the story came from a podcast joke. I don't know the exact number, but when I find it, maybe Kendo can figure it out. But I made the joke on the show, World Class Bullshitters, and then I was like, man, imagine this, imagine that, and it kind of grew from that. And then I wrote out the entire outline, and now I'm just playing with the dialogue, but I have the story done. Like I know every beat, every story beat, where it goes, and it's I do have the luxury though of knowing sometimes, since I'm doing the writing and the drawing, I don't have to do a descriptive script. I can be like, okay, it's in the house and blah blah blah, and this is happening down in the basement. I don't have to go, draw it from this angle, blah blah blah. So I do have that luxury, Anthony, but I did write it out. Tim Riggs sent in 2 super chats, so thank you, Tim Riggs, both times. There is a reason the hero's journey has endured since the Epic of Gilgamesh and other very ancient stories. It worked for 5,000 plus years. Then Tim, go ahead. Do you have anything you guys want to add to that one?
I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. These stories, bettering yourself, going through things, going through a little bit of I don't know how I would put it, going through a little bit of struggle to get to better yourself, making mistakes and learning from them. It needs to happen. You need to strive for something. It's important.
And then finally, Tim Riggs also said, SJWs hate heroes because their ideology is inherently collectivist. They need to destroy exceptional individualism, or else it shows as false. Or it is shown as false, excuse me. Yeah.
Oh,
I made the point that all this crap that's going on with all the Marvel heroes and stuff, it's them tearing down our statues, because that's what collectivists do. They tear down the heroes that the people all agree on to lift up their own bizarre freaking versions.
Well, like I always say, the market's not racist, the market's not sexist. So thankfully, the market is lashing out or pushing back against this weird ideology, politics, be it through Star Wars, be it through comic books. The real world events are telling compared to what we talk about online. Social media is such a small kernel of what really goes on. It's just a condensed, terrible area.
Yeah.
They hate these heroes, yet they do like to say that these heroes are SJWs themselves.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know. It's a headache hearing that.
Yep. It's bullshit. Now, let's close this out. So, Mike, please tell the listeners about Lone Star.
Lone Star is a World War II era fighter pilot. Went through some difficult times in his youth that led him to always be driven to do the right thing and to help the innocent. He was tasked with his crew to go take out the Übermensch, known as the Iron Cross, that was helping Hitler to take out all of Europe. He lost all of his friends, he lost his crew, and he nearly lost his own life, but he did succeed in his mission. And on his deathbed, he was offered a chance to be sort of reborn and through this special procedure. And he's given powers beyond those of normal men. And he becomes the first in a group of heroes called the Unknown Soldiers, who are tasked with going out and fighting the vampires and the werewolves and the creepy crawlies of the night. And but since that's so, he's kind of like a monster first responder. But he doesn't want to just sit around waiting for actionable intel all the time. Like I said, he's driven to go out and be a hero. So that's what he does. Spends most of his nights patrolling the streets, patrolling the rooftops, waiting for people. And he can sense fear like a predator can, but rather than using that sensation to go kill, he uses it to go save the person who's in fear. And it is on Indiegogo right now, LoneStarComic.com, the easy link. You can go check out the art if you like it. There's actually some scripted pages up there too, and a really cool video. So check it out if you like it. Otherwise, follow me on Blacklist Universe. We're probably going to go do the Aloha Hour in a little bit here too. We're up there pretty much every night except Sundays.
Let's see what we got next. Elliot, would
Yes,
you like
sir.
to promote your Indiegogo? By the way, folks, I've backed all these. Everyone that has been on a Comicsgate thing, I got a copy coming. So, I do it. You guys should do it too, because this is the best feeling to support independent stuff, to be on the ground floor. So when they make the Lone Star movie, you can say, hey, I bought the issue. I'm involved. I can sell it for $1,000 like Walking Dead #1.
Right on, right on.
Oh yeah, it'll be much lower print run too.
Well, Black and Red is a collection of some of the commissions, the better commissions that I've pulled together over the last year, utilizing my passion for graphic design and also my passion for comic book art. A fusion, if you will, of cool art. At least I think so. Anyway, it is what is identified as. It's black, white, and red artwork. And like I said, it's just kind of like a collection of my work and kind of an introduction of myself to the Indiegogo community and the backers that are willing to support good art. I hope that you guys will be impressed with it. And certainly, just so everybody knows, I'm fully expecting to have this. Well, we promised to have it fulfilled in October, and we will have it fulfilled in October because I already this week I'm putting together the actual book and getting it ready to send to the printer because we've already exceeded our expectation for it. So, but anything on top of that will certainly help, and we really appreciate it. All you guys, thank you so much.
So I have a question. When is Jeremy Peerboom gonna do his Indiegogo?
Well, I'm currently working on it. I actually just got that patch page that I showed you the other day done just now. So pages 1 and 2 are done, but I don't want to launch it until I have everything done on my end.
Oh, I understand.
So it's like I'm, it's first time doing it, so I might as well. Once the campaign ends, I want to have that thing ready to print. So you'll probably be by the end of the year or beginning of next year.
Well, I'm going to make sure I have you on to, you're going to be a part of this. So come on the channel and tell everyone about it when it's launched. I'll tell everyone about it so they can pick up your book too.
Yeah, it's basically, can I kind of give you guys like a quick pitch here right now? So basically it's just going to be, it's basically a story that I've adapted from like real world experiences from just a rough year I had a couple of years ago. But I wanted to make it fun, kind of highlight the good times that I had and just put it in like a fun superhero setting where the two characters go on adventures and encounter zombies and dinosaurs. And if I were to compare it to anything, which I'm kind of like drawing inspiration from, is Mike Allred's Madman.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best way I can describe it. And if you want, I can show you guys the second page.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
I love Mike Allred's work.
I do too. It's he's putting out a a Dick Tracy book this Wednesday.
Ooh, maybe I'll check that out. I'm gonna do. By the way, folks, for you who are still here, I talked to the guy that works at my local comic book shop. I'm friends with all of them. Like there's 2 owners, but there's about 5 or so guys that work there. So I'm gonna get a live stream from my local comic book shop soon. It'll be a way to promote Stealing Solo, but it'll also be a way to talk about comics. Maybe I can get them for an interview. I can show you guys the store that I always talk about. They do gaming, they do comics, they do toys. They're a small little shop, Rock and Rooster Comics and Games, but they're probably, one of the best I've ever been in. And I've been to the secret stash that's featured on Comic Book Men. I've been to the bigger ones. I've been to Midtown which is really a nice store. I can't really discredit it, but Rock and Rooster here in Cincinnati is, you know, one of the best.
Oh, that's pretty big.
Quick?
That's a traditional, right?
Yeah, these are the 11 by 17s.
Wow. Oh man, I used to remember scanning those in and having to stitch them together on those old crappy scanners.
Can you click on him so we can see it?
He's locked in.
He's locked in. I'm not seeing it on.
Yeah, he is.
Oh,
You're
I
watching
see it
the
now.
live Google Hangout instead of the.
Right on, man.
Yeah, and I'm always looking for people to criticize. So, you know, if I send you guys a message or whatever, if you guys ever want to see more, just let me know, or I'll send you guys.
I
a
think
message
it's
randomly.
good.
Right on.
I'm you know, I don't pull punches. I think it's good.
And Mike certainly criticizes muchly.
Yeah, I would like. I would love more like professional criticism. I mean, I've not to brag. I've got a friend at DC who's helped me out a lot, and I've assisted him on stuff too. And hopefully, when I launch my Indiegogo campaign, he'll be one of two of the DC.
Well, you don't look anything like your avatar.
Well, I'm not wearing a hat.
No, but I like it. I think it's good. I'm glad that you are seeking, you know, a little bit of critique and all this, and it looks good. I like it.
Yeah,
you know,
thank you. Like I can take the harsh critiques. So if you got something, like throw it at me. I've gotten critiques from Mike Carlin and Bat before, and they were brutal. But you know, I took them.
I could not. I could simply not. EVS does brutal portfolio reviews. If he has a look at your stuff, he may be able to tell you something. Mike has a lot of the experience. There's a lot of people, you know, these people, they know what they're talking about. Even Jeff has a little bit of, you know, a couple of years in the illustration thing, right? So they could tell you a lot more. I can't, but I just from a customer perspective, I like it.
Thank you.
It's good.
Yeah, and yeah, and if you guys want to check out more, it's I've got a website, jeremypeerboom.com. That's got links to my Twitter and Instagram also for more art. And you can contact me on there too.
Right on.
Perfect. So, folks, this has been. I called it Comics Fence since Ethan had Comics Gate, so I didn't know what to call it. But,
no, just call it Comic Book Talk. I mean, you could, and I was okay. I kind of like went with this thing. I think we could call it. You could change it later. We could call it Comic Book Talk, Big Hangout, and you could put the links in the description to all these these channels, the YouTube, so these guys can, you know, when they're not watching World Class Bullshitters, they could check it out. I just wanted to give a you like Comics Fence?
Yeah.
Okay, we can leave it for Comics Fence.
I just was like, what is it going to be called? Shit, Comics. I don't want to call it Comics Gate because Ethan's on live with Comics Gate Live. Shit, Comics Fence. Fuck it. So there we go.
No, it's hey, I'm just the guy. But like, I wanted to shout out Critias, who's not with us anymore, but he was here for a while, and his work on Indiegogo. I wanted to shout out.
Not dead.
He's not. Well, yeah, that was a weird way to put it. He's not Detective Dead. He just left. He's got Detective Dead coming on Indiegogo. He's already live. I want to shout out Gary Shipman. You can check out his channel, his art. You can check out That Umbrella Guy. Soon to be having Jeff as a guest. Yeah, he there. That's a signature, you know, signature hello. And, you know, Jeff will be guesting on all these shows, Mike's Aloha Hour. And I just wanted to give a big shout out to a bullshitter that I've never gotten to speak with, but I have a lot of admiration for. I just want to say that Dion did nothing wrong. He's right about the horses. Okay, there have been meat-eating horses for about 4,000 years, and there have been carnivores. Okay, I just want to say that. Just put it out there. It's a fact. Okay, horses can be dangerous. I know y'all bust his balls, but I'm going to take Dion's corner on this and, you know, say that, hey, it's happened. They do eat humans. And it's true. These things are dangerous. I've seen them, like, you know, do terrible damage to people here in Puerto Rico because we have a lot of horses. And just a shout out to Dion and the other bullshitters that are not with us today. You know, just send them my love because they are part of what, you know, this is largely Jeff, of course, but they are part of the group dynamic that helped build this. I want to say, give a shout out to them too, and tell y'all, get on that Patreon, get on that Stealing Solo, and just thank you for being here.
Right on.
That's a perfect way to close it out, and I won't try to top that. So, folks, thank you. I'll be back later with more content here on World Class Bullshitters.